Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. This is episode 300. I keep forgetting that. Tonight is episode 300. 300 episodes in 6 years. Well, we only do it once a week, that's why. But 300 episodes seems like quite an accomplishment. We didn't plan like a special episode for 300. No, we did that for 200, I think. But I didn't even think about what episode I was coming up to. But I did get a wonderful guest for tonight for the first time on the show. Is RJ Spina. He is a metaphysical teacher. He overcame chest-down paralysis, diabetes, pancreatitis, a number of other severe illnesses that almost took his life. But he was able to cure himself or heal himself with the power of his own mind, I guess you could say. You know, the power of supercharged self-healing. That's the name of his book, Supercharged Self-Healing, a revolutionary guide to access high-frequency states of consciousness that rejuvenate and repair. And I know a lot of my listeners, everybody, I mean, it's the human condition, has their own ailments and illnesses, some of you with serious illnesses. You might want to take a good listen tonight. This guest is going to be really interesting. He's going to give you a practical guide to how you can use your consciousness to heal thyself. And we will open up the phone lines later in the show, so you can call in and ask him your questions. I'm sure you're all going to have many questions for our guest, RJ Spina, later in the show, after the World Wide Web of Weird. And of course, yes, a lot in the World Wide Web of Weird tonight. I made some last-minute changes. Got a good article about satanic after-school specials, all that good stuff. Got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jblandparanormalsoup. Tonight's guest, RJ Spina, will be joining us, hopefully, after the World Wide Web of Weird. He should be joining us on here on StreamYard by video call. He's the author of Supercharged Self-Healing, and has a longer title than that, but he's got a lot of information to share tonight about how to basically tap into the higher frequencies and heal thyself. You know, and right now, I think the world needs that. I mean, COVID's everywhere, right? We all need a little bit of way to heal ourselves a little better or have a higher frequency. Thank you to Russ. Man, I don't know how many weeks in a row Russ has donated. Thank you, Russ. You are helping out big time. Grade school friend there, too. But yeah, I've become a fan of the show, Russ. Thank you, Russ. Yes, you can donate. $50 is what Russ donated. You don't have to donate that much, but there is the... why does it keep doing that? There we go. Go away. All right. You can donate with Super Chat if you're watching on YouTube, just so you know. We also are on Patreon. Just a shameless plug for donations. But joining me, as always, is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well. I'm really excited about tonight's topic because I fully believe that we can heal ourselves with our minds.
I mean, he had chest down paralysis. I mean, that's, to be able to make yourself walk, to heal thyself when you're told you're never going to walk again, that's just incredible. So we can't wait to hear him tonight. Also joining me from St. Augustine, Florida is Rob Autry himself. How you doing tonight, Rob? You're muted, Rob.
Just when I had a good one come in, I keep myself. But yeah, I'm doing okay.
All right, man. Well, Rob runs the World Wide Web of Weird, and we got a lot of weird to get to. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web Weird, I thought I'd start up I almost feel like this is a continuing story in a sense, even though it's probably not the same case. But over 2021, we had a number of stories throughout the year in the World Wide Web of Weird about lawsuits or people being swindled by psychics. There was one that was doing it to several people. Well, this one really takes the cake. And this is from Coast to Coast AM. Man sues psychic for allegedly swindling him out of $1 million. $1 million. A lot of dough. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup Radio Network, we are a webcast. You can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, where we're live. Show pictures sometimes video. I got one video tonight. But if you want to just listen to me narrate as worse as possible, as I usually do, feel free. All right, so man sues psychic for allegedly swindling him out of $1 million from Tim Binnall from Coast to Coast AM. New York City man claims that a self-described psychic swindled him out of more than $1 million over the course of a few months after she convinced him that there were evil spirits plaguing his life. The very strange case reportedly came to light earlier this week when William Young filed a lawsuit against a spiritual healer, Shania Samil. In the legal complaint, his lawyer explained that the man met the purported clairvoyant back in May, and the two quickly became friends. After hearing about various problems in his life, Samil, if I'm saying that right, S-M-I-E-L, allegedly convinced Young to begin seeing her as a client, which is when the relationship took a darker turn. According to the lawsuit, Samil told the man that his family was cursed by dark spirits and that the forces were very strong, and that so long as they were there, Young would not be able to find love or happiness or have a good relationship with his family. As luck would have it, the psychic just so happened to know a series of rituals using the arcane and occult arts, which would eradicate the sinister spirits that had torn Young's life asunder. The lawsuit goes on to contend that Samil convinced the man that the potency of these healing sessions was directly tied to how much money he was willing to pay for them. How many times have we heard this story? Incredibly, Young's lawsuit says that he paid Samil a staggering $100,000 for the first such ritual, and then another $32,000 in 6 smaller installments over the course of the same month. Shortly thereafter, the spiritual hero told the beguiled client that she was in desperate need for a car in order to travel on his behalf. She didn't have enough money by then to buy a car?
Man.
Did the spirits take all the money? I mean, what is this? Where was I? That threw me off. That should have been his warning sign. Now, like, dude, I've given you enough money. You could buy, like, 3 cars. Shortly after, the spiritual healer told her beguiled client that she was in desperate need of a car in order to travel on his behalf, gather materials for rituals, and consult and contact superiors who were other psychics in her organization for consultation. So she's just bringing more people on the swindle. The issue was swiftly solved when Young actually went so far as to lease a new car for the woman and assumed all the monthly payments for the vehicle. Jeez. All told, over the course of the next 6 months, Youngs claims that he paid Samil a jaw-dropping $1.1 million for her psychic services. As one might imagine, the man's life did not improve. In fact, it took a considerable turn for the worse, as he had spent his entire life savings on these rituals. However, Young says Samil managed to persuade him to tap into a joint bank account belonging to his family and wire a whopping $496,000 more. Fortunately, the massive payment was stopped by the bank, who likely suspected something was amiss, which is when it seems that the psychic spell over the man was broken, and he subsequently filed suit in order to recoup some of the money from the magical misadventure. I don't know what to tell people on that. You know, I mean, at what point does somebody say, maybe I'm being had here?
Yeah.
You know, I think $100,000 is at the point I would not even paid if I had that kind of money. But, you know, it's kind of sad that this guy felt he was in such a spot. You know, he had all this money. See, money don't buy you happiness. Definitely doesn't buy you healing from a psychic either.
Doesn't buy you smarts either.
No, obviously. But I feel bad for the guy. Obviously, he was desperate measures, I guess, you know.
Wow.
All right, speaking of desperation, I don't know this one. This guy wasn't going to be given a transplant because he had previously been a smoker, so they decided, hey, do you want a pig heart instead? That's this next article. Man receives genetically modified pig heart and transplant breakthrough. 57-year-old man became the first person to ever undergo the transplant. David Bennett, who has terminal heart disease, underwent the procedure at the University of Maryland Medical Center this week after doctors were granted a special dispensation to carry out the transplant on the basis that he would have died without it. It was either die or do this transplant, he said beforehand. I know it's a shot in the dark, but it's my last choice. The transplant was unique in that it used a heart from a pig that had been genetically modified to disable certain genes that would have seen it rejected by the recipient. But it was ineligible for a human heart transplant because of his ill health. Somewhere I thought I read it's because he smoked, but he had such poor health, I guess you get to a point they're not going to give you a transplant. It's so sad. Incredibly, the procedure went well, and he is now recovering in the hospital with his new heart. The success is particularly important because if possible, the pig organs in humans, it could mean that the lives of thousands of patients on organ waiting lists could be saved. As things stand now, however, the long-term outlook of Bennett remains uncertain. He's at more risk because we require more immunosuppression. Sorry, I'm totally say that wrong. Slightly different than we would do with a normal human-to-human transplant. Because one, it's an animal. The body's going to be trying to reject it. You know, some people are like, oh, this is horrible. You know, I mean, it saved the guy's life, hopefully. He makes it through.
Yeah, you know.
It could save a lot of people's lives if they're able to do this. I'm not against science or them doing it, you know. I mean,
come on now, squeal like a pig.
Yeah,
we mentioned this in the Wednesday show. Like, if you had a pig heart, would you still want to eat pork chops and bacon afterwards?
That's a good question. I mean, seriously, you feel like you're kind of a little bit of cannibalism since now you're part pig.
Yeah.
No, what I wondered about is, will it change him? Because we talked about the people who've had heart transplants and having, like, picking up things from the person they got the transplant from. Like abilities or personality changes. What happens then if it's a pig's heart? You know?
Start wanting to eat banana peels and trash.
Roll around in the mud. I don't know. This guy will just be happy to be alive if it works. Hopefully it does.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it's just a heart. And it's not like eyeballs or a brain. I think the heart, he'll be okay.
But, you know, like I said, people have had human heart transplants and picked up things sometimes. It's incredible. You know, look into it. Read it up. Research, people. It's interesting. All right, next one. This one, not so interesting as much, but I've been seeing it circulate on. Man finds picture of hovering UFO in Antarctica while searching Google Maps. Now, I always wonder about Antarctica UFOs, and you got Google Maps. I've seen some weird stuff on Antarctica on the Google Maps. Like, there's weird stuff you'll find up there. I mean, just spend an hour or two just searching through Google Maps on Antarctica. You'll find some weird stuff. Well, this guy did. It looks like bird poop to me, but this is a larger perspective. Man thinks he may have found solid evidence of a UFO after spotting a odd shape hovering over Antarctica while searching through Google Maps. A screen grab of the image shows a white cylindrical object on a brown background, which appears to be rocks located. I'm not going to read the location out. You go to themirror.co.uk to find the article. Along the edge of a snowy land, Daily Star reports. Reddit user Lee Soy posted the image and asked others for their opinion as he thought what he had seen could be a UFO in flight. The discovery comes after a series of UFO sightings have been made around the world and speculation dangers of business, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. This article goes on about all the UFO disclosure stuff. I don't care. It's odd. I mean, everything's brown in the background. You think about snow in Antarctica, but I'm sure not everything is. Like, where is it? I did not get a chance to check this out. I just got this article late. I wanted to check it out on Google Maps myself, but I didn't. So a lot of times I get to. What I find weird is almost like there's little eyes in there, like evil eyes.
Yeah, right here. Looking out the cave.
Yeah. It's odd. Kind of has a penis shape. But... I mean, it could be a ship. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But you have to be pretty big, I think. I don't know. I'd have to see it actually on Google Maps, which I didn't get to do. But find the Mirror article. Sorry, Mirror, and it has coordinates there. You can check it out. I don't know. Antarctica. Everybody says there's aliens there. Possible. If
it's a good place to hide.
It would be a good place to hide. Well, Illinois is not such a good place to hide. There's a lot of people there. So next one. A fleet of UFOs filmed in Illinois, and this happened, I think, back in November. Oops, that was my video playing. Peculiar piece of footage circulating online shows several mysterious orbs floating through the night sky in Illinois, and some suspect that the odd glowing objects could be alien in nature. The treating of sightings reportedly occurred last November in the community of Beach Park, was only reported to the research organization MUFON this past week. According to the unnamed witness, curious objects appeared to be flying in formation towards the Lake Michigan and vanished in midair. Fortunately, despite being bewildered by what they were seeing, the observer managed to capture the remarkable sighting on film. And it's like 3-4 minutes long, I think, the whole video. So I'm not going to show the whole thing. We're going to show a little bit of it. The puzzle video begins with a trio of lights first appearing in the sky, and initial thoughts of it perhaps as a triangle UFO. And it does look like that, as you see right there. However, the scene gets even stranger when the amazed witness notices they described as a flotilla of 5 additional glowing orbs suddenly appear on the horizon. To the credit, the person behind the camera does an admirable job of trying to follow the lights throughout the anomalous objects. Largely remain indecipherable despite the individual's best efforts to hunt the UFOs down. And you'll see him kind of get out of the car. I think I have that in there. I don't know if I have time to watch the whole thing. Like I said, you get this. Coast to Coast AM had this article. UFO fleet on Beach Park. If you type that in YouTube, you'll find the video. But go ahead and play it.
Perfecta triangulación.
Now, is it a triangle UFO, or is it lights in the sky that are forming the shape of a triangle? It's half the time I wonder.
Esto está sucediendo aquí en Beach Park, Illinois, justamente arriba de Waukegan, Illinois. Oh, y allá vienen más.
And now he notices the other lights.
Una flotilla. Oh, eso que se ve arriba es el reflejo de los carros.
And like I said, this video is a little bit long. But he'll zoom in on these, too. I don't know what these are. It almost looks like another triangle UFO being towed or something. I don't know. Or it's just a formation. I don't know.
5. Y de este lado, tenemos los otros 3 que llevan detrás del árbol. 1, 2, 3.
Interesting note to this. Shout out to my friend Captain out there. Me and him have been talking to a squad mate, and we play Star Wars Squadrons. And a squad mate of ours actually flew and encountered the Belgian Wave triangle UFO.
Wow.
And we've been getting more information on that. It's really interesting to talk to a pilot that flew up to a triangle UFO.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, could those be drones, lanterns? I don't know. If it was just a 3, I don't know. There's a lot going on there. And he obviously follows these for a while. He'll start driving in the video. Yeah, here he goes. He starts driving in the video. Like, he's following these things for quite a while. I would love to know how long his encounter totally went, because he obviously stopped the video and started a new one. And he eventually stops, gets out of the car, and films more of it. Ozzy Osbourne says it's ball lightning. Ozzy's was under. I don't think that's ball lightning. Ball lightning, yeah, no. Yeah, he gets out of his car and film it. But I don't know what it is. Triangle UFO, orbs, some kind. But I love the guy's perspective, and he really did a good job of trying to follow these things down. All right, let's move on before I run out of time. All right, I thought this was an interesting story because it involves UFOs, shadow people, and guarding nukes. This is from Unexplained Mystery. U.S. airmen witnessed UFOs and a shadow person while guarding nukes. Adrian Reister, if you say that's how you say his last name, a former USAF nuclear weapons technician, was spoken out about his experiences. Reister had been stationed at Whitmore Air Force Base in Missouri between 2003 and 2007, where he was tasked with guarding and moving and maintaining a stockpile of nuclear weapons. Like many of those stationed at such facilities, however, he reported a number of strange sightings and experiences during his time there that even to this day he has been unable to explain. In one instance, Reister encountered a strange object hovering over some nearby trees. This is from him, I noticed a light orb hovering over along the top of the tree line. I thought it was just a star at the time, but as I continued to surveilling the area, the light orb shot above the treetops and hung there for some time, he told the Liberation Times. Maybe it was a satellite, I thought, but then it bounced a little in the sky, and then it shot to the left, north, and then shot 90 degrees straight up and disappeared. Even stranger is what he experienced during his summer of 2006. While working on the night shift, he recalled hearing the footsteps of someone without any shoes. I saw what I can really describe as other than a black mass in the shape of a person standing at 6 feet. Not really a shadow, but something that was slightly blurry and didn't reflect any light. And that description, man, right there is very much like what I had seen. He gives a beautiful description of what I had experienced. To this day, no explanation for either of the phenomena he encountered has been forthcoming. That's all they had. There's a whole mirror article to it, too. It's really not much longer than the Unexplained Mysteries article. But I find it interesting. He's working at a nuclear base. He saw a UFO. He had the shadow person experience. And I've been trying to connect. There's some things between my shadow person experience and an alien experience I had that are connected. And I wonder if there is a connection. And maybe shadow persons are aliens here in some kind of astral projection form. I don't know. Deep Thoughts by Jason Bland or Jack Handy. I don't know. But I found this guy's, I'd love to know more about his experiences there if there is more to tell. But, nuclear bases are obviously hot spots for UFOs and alien activity. And, who's to say the shadow thing he saw wasn't an alien? Or is it something else?
I kind of think that shadow people go along with aliens. From the stuff I had as a kid, the three being the shadows I always felt were extraterrestrial, where the woman was more
I always felt like there's
paranormal.
alien. Even when I was having the encounter, I was like, I didn't think, like, people are like, that's demonic. I'm like, nah, I don't know. There's something that does set more alien-like. But we got to move on now. We're going to run out of time. We got 5 minutes. All right, the next one I put in last minute because I forgot all about it, and Jamie reminded me. Thank you, Jamie. Illinois District defends offering after-school Satan Club at an elementary school. This is the flyer they put up, and I don't you really can't see it there, but have fun at the Satanic Club, I think it says, or something like that. I can't read the whole... Yeah, this is a New York Post article I got. Illinois School District is defending an elementary school offering after-school Satan Club, an extracurricular educational program sponsored by the Satanic Temple of the United States. The program for children in grades 1st through 5th would be taught by volunteers at the Jane Addams Elementary School in Moline and will meet 5 times this year beginning Thursday, flyers circulating on social media claim. According to the flyer, the club will consist of science projects, puzzles, games, arts, and crafts, and outdoor natural activities. Arts and craft. Let's make a goat devil. I don't know. What do they do in arts and craft? The club says it will help children learn benevolence and empathy, critical thinking, problem solving, creative expression, and personal sovereignty. The Satanic Temple, essentially activist group and a think tank more than a religious institution, said the program is available at select public schools where Good News programs exist, and it's meant to be educational because Good News is a Christian one, right? Members have no intention of converting children to Satanism. Then what's your point? It's our goal, and we're not interested in converting children to Satanism, the temple says about the program on its website. After School Satan Club will focus on free inquiry and rationalism, scientific basis for which we know, blah, blah, blah. We prefer to give children an appreciation of the natural wonders surrounding them, not a fear of everlasting otherworldly horrors. The flyer promoted a response from district leadership who empathetically assured parents that no teachers from James Addams or any other district teachers involved, and flyers were not distributed to all students. She said that the space rental was not generated by the district and is not affiliated with Jane Addams or the district. So lawsuits to prevail for the Satanic Church, I'm thinking. A district parent had reached out to the Satanic Temple after school club and told the group that the elementary school already offered a children's evangelical fellowship club and wanted to bring the program to the school to offer parents a choice of different viewpoints, the superintendent said. Now, my opinion is that religion shouldn't be in school. I know some people are like, oh, we need to bring God back to school. My opinion, belief in God or not, schools are not for that. That's for parents, family. Let them decide what your kids are going to be for religion. No religion. Satanic, Muslim, Christian, keep it out. My opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know. I think we're really pushing things. And that's like the Satanic Church's point is to like, well, they're going to have evangelicals after school. If an after school club, that's outside of school. So go to the Satanic club or send your kids to the Christian club. I guess, I don't know, or maybe no club. But it's a sign of the times, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the problem. If you have one, then you gotta have the rest, or you're,
It's an argument I can't deny. So let's not have any clubs, right? Let's not, honestly, if there's a club, it shouldn't be through a school. For religious, it should be through the church. And parents send their kids for the church. But it's a sign where we're at, right? I mean, more and more satanic stuff. They're putting statues up, and nothing against my Satanists out there. It's your religion. You're right. I'm all libertarian. You want to be a Satanist, you go for it. To each their own. But it is a sign that things are getting a little dark. And this last one, I don't have time to read the whole thing. It's from mirror.co, but maybe things aren't going so good. The sign of that is a group out there wants to make a black box for the Earth. Like a black box when the plane goes down. Black box that could record collapse of civilization set to be installed on Earth. A black box which is set to be built on the west coast of Tasmania will be connected to the internet and will record information to help a future civilization if humanity suffers a major apocalyptic event. Scientists' warnings about global heating have been ignored or for years, or is it climate change? Pick one. Prompting fear that the future of humanity is increasingly uncertain. More and more we are seeing deadly weather events such as fires, floods, extreme heat. I mean, tornado in Fort Myers, Florida, right, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny it. And now we're building a black box. Things ain't good. It ain't going so well here on Earth. We're ready to make the black box for Earth. Exactly. I find you can find this at mirror.co.uk. But what I find interesting, they're already starting to collect data, and they're going to build this place. And they have the internet and all this, and it's supposed to have like solar panels to continuously like power it. I just imagine like the world going into a crap. And there's some people left over with sticks and stones fighting this and like knocking on the screens. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is this? Computers? I don't know what this is. I wouldn't even be able to read the data.
The world went down the pooper. Well, here's the proof.
Here's the reason. That's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. Our guest tonight is RJ Spina. He's a metaphysical teacher. He is the author of Supercharged Self-Healing, a revolutionary guide to access high-frequency states of consciousness that rejuvenate and repair. And I know many of you in my chat room, we all have different ailments. Some of you have some severe ailments. You might want to really listen in tonight, and we will open up the phone lines later in the show for you to ask your questions. But we got to go to a short commercial break, and then we will be back with our guest, RJ Spina, after this, like I said, short commercial break.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest. The true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is RJ Spina. He's the author of Supercharged Self-Healing, a revolutionary guide to access high-frequency states of consciousness that rejuvenate and repair. RJ Spina is a metaphysical teacher and a guide who overcame chest-down paralysis, diabetes, pancreatitis, Hashimoto disease, if I said that right, and several other serious illnesses. He offers healing, counseling, meditation, and self-realization instructions throughout the world. RJ lives with his partner Jennifer and their 2 Jack Russell Chihuahuas mixes. That's what I have for bio tonight, but I actually heard an interview of him I do listen to Coast with George Norrie, and somebody's like, oh, shame on you, because I know I'm an Art Bell fan too. I like George. I heard him a little bit on Coast to Coast a month ago, and I'm like, I got this guy coming on my show. He's really interesting, so I've been really looking forward to this. I know many of you call in. I know we all have medical issues at times we deal with, and some of you can be quite serious. So I'm hoping tonight RJ is able to give you some advice that can help eliminate some of your issues with your pure thought, raising your frequency. We're going to learn all about that tonight, and we will open up the phone lines later in the show for you to ask your questions. But let's go ahead and get to our guest. All right, let's make sure we got our guest here. Add to stream. Hi, RJ.
Hey, Jason. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. It's an honor to have you on the show for the first time. I haven't read the book, but I really want to. And you have it, I think, available on Kindle. I've been so behind. But I've been wanting to read this book, and I feel bad I didn't get to before the show. But like I said, I had heard a little bit of you on George Norrie, like a month ago or so. I don't know. It's been a little while, maybe. And I thought, this guy is really interesting and won a lot of my thoughts about the universe and how things work. Maybe I'm not able to do the things you're able to do, but maybe I could. But I'm a big believer in what I call the Force. A lot of what you describe, I have my own spiritual beliefs and all this, but a lot of what you described in that interview I heard, I'm like, this is really close to what I think. You even get into the multiverse. There's a lot to talk about tonight. But go ahead, tell the audience tonight, how this all really started for you.
Sure. Maybe the best place to start is as a little kid, without trying or effort, or certainly without teaching, I would just automatically leave my body. It's just something that I would do. What we call
natural.
Natural. We could call it astral projecting, if you want to call it that. So this was just normal. I would just relax, and all of a sudden, I was just outside of my body. I would be on the ceiling. I'd be standing next to my body. Sometimes I'd end up on the roof. And as I started to realize, as a kid, right away, I knew that I was pure spirit because I was outside of my body.
Yeah.
And I realized that I could really, as pure spirit, go anywhere. So I wasn't just limited to my house or the local neighborhood. Right. And so I realized my spirit, my consciousness could go anywhere. And so what was normal for me would be to explore different realms, different frequencies, different dimensions of the multiverse. And I would interact with beings. It felt more natural to be doing that than it did to be inside this suit, the skin suit. Right. So I was always like that as a kid. I came into this life like that.
Wow.
I even used to say, if I ever get sick, I'll just heal myself, which is, obviously bizarre thing to say, but there was something inside me that knew that I could do it. If I ever got sick, I would just heal myself. And so that, I guess, is a decent context or background. And then we could, go ahead.
Well, I'm just fascinated by this. What age did you really first experience this? It's honestly like spontaneous astral projection.
Yeah, I was really a little kid. I would have to say I was probably 3 or 4, and I would just do this automatically. And there were sort of 2 things that I would do too. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I used to pretend that I had a jetpack on my back, and then I would just skyrocket up. And what I was really doing is that I was going up in frequency and being able to leave the frequencies and go into different dimensions and different realities. And the other thing I would do is shrink myself, so I could literally walk between the blades of grass. And this was totally normal, totally natural, and obviously without being taught any of this. I was a kid, so for me that was normal.
So you were a weird kid like me. So did your parents like realize what you were doing, or like did you talk about it openly? I mean, what was that like growing up?
Well, I remember I asked my mom one time. I said, when you lie down to go to sleep, where do you go? Like I said, where do you leave and where do you go to? And she's like, what do you mean?
Oh yeah.
I go, well, no, I mean, when you're gonna sleep, but you don't really sleep, you just leave your body.
Yeah.
Where do you actually go? And I remember the look on her face, like I had three heads, and I started explaining what would happen for me, and
Yeah.
she's like, that's crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. No one does that. I've never heard of that. Are you okay?
Like, she's like looking in the phone book for the next child shrink, right?
Yeah, I mean, because it was odd. Obviously, it was odd. And one of the things, which is probably just as odd as all that stuff, is that when I would travel, so to speak, frequently, I used to say wherever I went, I used to have a mantra. Even as a little kid, I used to say, "I retain all information and wisdom contained within this realm."
Wow.
And I used to say that over and over and over again as a little kid. So, clearly, I just came into this world with not a lot of identification with the suit, with being human. I still don't really have any identification with being human. Identifying with the body itself. Yeah.
Always felt like an alien. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I knew I was spirit. I lived as spirit as a kid, and then as you start to assimilate into the human experience, and you develop what I call the ego mind identity, which in its foundation is identification with the body, and then you start to limit yourself to what I call body consciousness, which is just the five senses and therefore the intellect. And so now we've reduced our supreme consciousness to just simply the lower frequencies that the body is attuned to, and then therefore what the sensory perceptions can pick up. And so that's really the issue in terms of us not really being what we are, which is pure spirit, which is the supreme consciousness level of awareness. And we reduce ourselves to just this suit and then the five senses that it can perceive and just the frequency bands it's attuned to. So at about 24 years old, I had a very profound meditative experience that just helped me understand myself a little bit better. I was able to sink into into this incarnation a little bit better and work with myself a little bit better. And then really since then, even though I had normal jobs for a while, but now I'm dating myself because that was 26 years ago. I've been spending most of my life teaching, guiding, and deconstructing these things that I do in order to help people with their own self-realization and self-healing.
So I mean, that's 3 or 4, and to continually do it. I mean, throughout your life. Some people are I know calling the show like, how do I astral project? People try to do it and are not able to do it, or do not. There is no try, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people put effort into trying to do this, and here you are spontaneously do it. And I'm sure your travels in the astral realm and all that stuff, you found some answers to why you had this ability as a young child, and we can get into that tonight. I have my theories. I had a lot of weird experiences as a kid. I even had a few out-of-body experiences in my life, and I had one really negative one where I dealt with what I call a shadow person that would rip me out of my body and show me things. So I've had the good and bad of astral travel, I guess. But if I want to do it like on my own, like I'm going to astral travel, I can not say that I can just do that on my own.
I guess, it's certainly something that can be taught because it is something that I do teach. But it's really more a level of surrender and non-identification. So the surrendering you can think of as just total relaxation, as a way to say it. It's a little beyond that, but just think of it as just total relaxation. And then at the same time, there has to be a level of detachment from the physical body and the idea that we're human. So you have to kind of sink into what the esoteric terms we call the self, which, by the way, I'm pointing to the center of my chest because what we really are when we're incarnate sits between the heart and the spine. And that's really the sentience or the self. It sits right here. There's nothing in here.
Right.
So what we want to do is we just want to sink into that and then completely relax and then detach from the idea of being human. And then there's things that we can do with our energy, like I explained before about pretending having a jetpack. We can use the same energy that we use to think and emote and animate our body. I've just discovered a way to harness that energy and use that as almost propulsion to be able to leave these frequencies and therefore even go beyond the astral realms, which is the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh frequencies. But if we use our energy properly, we can literally catapult ourselves into extreme states of higher consciousness and much higher frequencies and dimensions.
And we obviously, in the physical realm, the crude matter is very negative lately. And, we have a lot of people that are falling ill to several things. We don't want YouTube to censor, so. So there's a lot of people in the need right now, I think, for this. I'm not saying people definitely go to your doctors, talk to your doctors. We're not saying not to seek medical advice or anything like this. But there is a need for this. People are, I feel like we're in a time in history where we are getting more tied into our technology and science and that, but there's also this kernel of spiritual awakening. I maybe it's just me doing this show, but there's more people open to this stuff than ever before. And I mean, I hear it from the people in the chat room that call in, and that they're looking for these answers. They're looking for, what are we? Are we this, like I said, I'm going to use some Star Wars references tonight. Are we this crude matter, or are we something more? And for you to be gifted, and I say it as a gift, to experience this from a child, from right off the bat as a child, to be able to astral project and see these truths, that's a wonderful gift to share with people, to show them how to tap into these things, because it's hard for people to fathom. I can take control of my life. I can heal myself. I don't need a pill, and I don't need this to do it. Not to say not go to your doctor's recommendations, but there's other things you can do. Now, you kind of had a rough ride to kind of push you into this.
Yeah. So for sure. About 6 years ago, April 23rd, 2016, to be exact. I had been sick for a couple of months, quite sick. I had spent 2 weeks in the hospital. I was diagnosed with sepsis, septic shock.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's lethal. In fact, I was even told I wouldn't make it. I only had about 48 hours. They were hoping that I'd be able to pull through. But I was also diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which was news to me. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's autoimmune disease, which is like the body attacking itself.
Yeah.
Hypothyroidism, as well as the septic shock. And I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. They gave me crazy strong antibiotics. I had to have literally like a stent put into my arm, and I had to give myself this medicine every 8 hours, this antibiotic. But 7 weeks after I got discharged, I literally became paralyzed from the chest down. So the sepsis, the antibiotics wasn't working. It literally got into my spine, and it crushed my spine. And there's a video on my website on the homepage. And it shows an MRI of my spine, and you can see it. It's literally like just someone went like this with it. And there's also all my surgeon's notes as well as in this video. It says complete paraplegia pre-surgery, complete paraplegia post-surgery. So I had emergency life-saving surgery on the 23rd, April 23rd, 2016. And I woke up, and I was still paralyzed from the chest down. I was told by the neurosurgeon, you can't get better. It's impossible. The condition is permanent. But the only thing that really matters about all of that is when I woke up from emergency surgery, I like to say that I had authentically woken up. I was in a state of cosmic consciousness. I was in a state of grace. And I understood how healing worked. I remembered when I used to say as a kid, if I ever get sick, I'll just heal myself. When I woke up, it all came back to me. It was like a muscle memory. And I literally started telling the ICU nurse exactly what I was going to do, all these metaphysical protocols, all these things I was going to do. And then I even said, and this is all documented, I even said that on the 100th day, 100 days from today, I will walk unassisted. And because I knew I was going to do this, it wasn't a belief, it wasn't a hope, it was an absolute knowingness. While I was in the hospital rehab for months, as I was unparalyzing myself, and this is in the video, I would have the physical therapists, the nurses, take videos of me because I knew no one was going to believe that I actually did this, or that it's possible for anyone else to do as well. So it's all documented, and on the 100th day, I was able to walk unassisted.
Wow. Now, before that point, before you reached that, what even brought you to that medical scenario beforehand? But I guess before that part, you kind of lost touch with what you had been doing as a child and your young adult area. You weren't astral projecting, or it kind of lost touch with that ability, and then it kind of hit you during that.
No, not at all. I've always been this way.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, I never lost touch with that. It was just something that was needed to occur in this incarnation for me to fully wake up. I needed to have a great challenge. My last name is Spina, which means spine.
Spine, yeah.
Right? So I
predestination?
Yeah, I promise you all these things are mapped out. This is all part of a life plan. So I wanted to and needed to give myself a challenge, and I obviously gave myself a worthy challenge.
Pretty weird one.
Yeah. Well, I needed to be challenged, and I wanted to be able to prove to myself yet again that I could put myself back together and then be able to offer the step-by-step metaphysical protocols in terms of what I did so other people can do the same thing for themselves.
Now, you said during the surgery you felt like you were in a cosmic consciousness, so you received kind of a download of all this stuff you had known before, in a sense, that you were going to heal yourself. What was that like? Do you remember when you were under, is there any way you can describe what that was like?
Yeah, sure. It's not a download. It was a peeling away. If you think of an onion, peeling away the layers. Because as a kid, I would say if I got sick, I would just heal myself. And so I knew it was already there. It certainly wasn't time as a kid, and I think I certainly hadn't had enough of the lifetime, nor enough of the intellect, to even be able to understand some of the things that maybe I would have done naturally as a kid and did do naturally as a kid. But I needed to have this traumatic, nearly impossible experience in order to awaken and remember. So it wasn't like something was given to me. It was more like the curtains were pulled away within my own consciousness, and then it just came forward, and it was like a memory. It literally all came back, the protocols, the exercises, and that's what the book really talks about, these 7 different things that I did over and over and over again repetitively. And it's the same thing that I've taught other people that have gotten quote unquote miraculously better by doing these steps in the healing technique. It's as simple as, if we have a different understanding and then you do different protocols and exercises, you get different results. And so it's as simple as that. I have a different understanding of things. What I lay out in the book are different forms of meditation, and actually what I call a form of magic as well, to manipulate energy. And when you do those things, you end up getting different results.
Well, you talk about self-realization, be able to manifest things. That's magic. Magic requires concentration and intention, which is meditation. And some people would look at what you did as a miracle. But at the same time, I look at it as like a Jedi using the Force to heal themselves. Because I used to read the old, all the Star Wars novels and stuff, and Luke would get injured, and he'd go into a Jedi meditation and heal his injuries. And I honestly, always in my deepest heart, felt that people could do that. People could actually heal themselves with the Force, or whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. And what we can call it is higher frequency energy, because that's really what it is. So higher frequency energy harmonizes lower frequency energy. Our body, our physical or seemingly physical body, is comprised of energy. It's mostly empty space, but it's energy that's vibrating at a very low frequency. So when you're able to access higher states of consciousness through meditation, you can then command and channel higher frequency energy into you. And that's one of the things that I would do repeatedly. So the short way to explain it is that, if you're familiar with the chakra system, okay. So you simply open up your crown chakra, right? And then you bring in, through powerful intention, you bring in higher frequency energy through your crown chakra, and you can feel it. It's tangible.
I know it. Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely tangible. It's not like, oh, this is just.
I 100% can testify to that.
Yeah, it is. You can feel it, and when I do an energy healing on someone, they can tangibly feel what is going on when I'm actually, commanding and projecting the energy. They can, and not just me. Lots of people that have certain facility with commanding energy, you can feel it. So this is one of the things that I would do for myself. I would open up my crown chakra. I would imagine a waterfall, And you stand underneath the waterfall, and the waterfall comes streaming down and hits you on top of the head, all that force of water. So I would simply imagine this waterfall, but I would imagine the waterfall was of high frequency energy. And so I would literally let this cascading, never-ending waterfall of high frequency energy to come right through my crown chakra and right down my spine, which was obviously the main issue of being paralyzed.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the things I would do. But when people do this, just like you said, Jason, I mean, it's tangible. You could feel it.
You can feel it. My experience was, before I really knew, I had heard about chakras, and I just started to get into meditation in my early 20s, but I hadn't read up on chakras or anything, and I started getting this pressure on the top of my head. And I'd feel like something was spinning on the top of my head, and like it's a cone that would go down, and like I'd actually find myself like rotating like this in meditation. And then it started to pop out of the front of my head, the third eye, I guess, and I'd feel that spinning. And then it all started opening up. And then I had somebody who was into Reiki said, "Oh, that's your chakras, man. And you might need to be careful. You need to probably channel that right, or get some advice or guidance, because you can cause problems sometimes if you don't do your chakras right." So I had some Reiki stuff done to me at one point, but otherwise it was just something naturally that happened through just me just beginning to do like a simple meditation, and it just started happening. And I thought at first like I was having a tumor, because you feel it. It's not just it's in my mind and I see it. No. You feel it. And I have had other people, not everyone, but I would be able to feel energy coming out of my hands and make people feel it.
Yeah, exactly, Jason. Exactly. So you can even think of the healing technique that's in the book, Superstar Self-Healing. There's a lot of sort of Reiki principle within the foundation of it, about moving energy, opening up the chakras. And so it's almost like we're kind of taking Reiki and moving it light years ahead, as a way to say it. In fact, I have a tattoo. I don't know if you can see it, but it's the first Reiki symbol. I have a deep, deep connection to Reiki. It's literally part of.
Go ahead and show it again. Sorry, I didn't have the screen on you. There's a little screen.
You can see that.
Oh yeah,
there. Yeah. So that's the
Nice.
Choku Reiki symbol. Yeah. So it's deeply woven within my heart, Reiki, and so that was part of the things that I was doing, was that one, channeling energy. But the most important thing to understand is that the body is designed to heal itself, right? We get a cut, it scabs over.
Right.
Okay. So we have misprogrammed our body through what I call the ego-mind identity. So we keep sending the wrong information in, and we're misprogramming our body's natural ability to heal itself. And part of this sort of cosmic consciousness state, I was able to remember and see things quite clearly. And it's the ego-mind identity, or who we think we are and how we feel about ourselves in terms of relating it to being a human being and our own physicality, that actually sends the misprogramming through our body, instead of knowing that we are an energy being. And the body is not supposed to take direction from the mental body. The body is supposed to take direction from the cosmic body, from the causal body, and not be programmed from the mind. And so it's our own ego-mind identity that misprograms the body, because whatever conceptualized reality that we create for ourselves, the body has the tangible experience of that. That's the mind-body connection in one sentence. And so most people's conceptualized reality that they have of themselves is so inauthentic to what they really are. And it completely misprograms the body, and we've lost the ability to self-heal. And which is why in the beginning of the book, all I talk about for the first 20 or 30 pages, I think, is just the ego-mind identity and how to overcome that, which relates to self-realization. And once you've turned that misprogramming off, now you can start to heal yourself by doing the steps in the book.
It's like taking off a filter that's not good. Like you're trying to stop programming your body to, I feel pain, or I'm miserable from whatever condition I'm under, to be basically like I'm not feeling pain, like, or to basically to reprogram your consciousness in a sense. I mean,
Jason, think of meditation, which is non-thought, right? And to live in sort of a perpetual state of meditation. Once the mind is clear, the emotions stabilize. Now the body is back in harmony. Thinking is completely unnatural. It is not our natural state. I know it's the default setting for everybody is to think.
And I'm a bad person with it. I think a lot. That's why I always had trouble with meditation.
Yeah. So there's all these different what I call magic tricks, and I call them that in the book. There's all these magic tricks, and we can do one right now that instantly stops thinking. Because I know most people that I've worked with, RJ, I can't meditate. It's too hard. I can't stop thinking.
Yeah.
I can't stop thinking. And we make it into something that is so difficult. It's like, oh, let me go in my room. Let me get my crystals. Let me light the incense. And let me put on the music. We set this thing up. We almost set ourselves up for failure.
Yeah.
What we really are, the self, is meditation. What we are exists prior to thinking, prior to emoting, prior to the body. So meditation is really what we actually are. And so if we want to return to what we really are and start the process of self-realization and self-healing, we have to start by being what we really are, which means we have to stop thinking. And so one way to instantly stop thinking, if you want to do it right now with me, because it takes 1 second, is all you have to do is this. Pretend that you just arrived here. No past, no future.
Because we're humans of time.
You can't think.
Beginning and end, yeah. Well, I've always been fascinated by that concept. And I brought up my theory of the universe kind of deal on this show probably plenty of times, is my idea about people, I'm not saying this is what multiple personality is, but you remember the movie Sybil?
Sure.
About the real life case?
Yeah.
Her mom used to put her in a closet or a chest and lock her away with no stimuli in the dark. And she developed these multiple personalities. And people under some similar conditions have had split personalities come out of it. And I have other theories about split personalities, but one of the things I found interesting about consciousness is when it's given no input. What does it do? It wants to create its own world. Consciousness is trying to create its own existence, begin here, end here, linear time. Like that's like the role of, I guess, the ego mind or whatever. It's trying to create this a reality to live in. And I've always found that really interesting because what is the existence before time and space? What are we without beginning and end? Our brains are gridlocked into this idea. I mean, it's in everything, and everything we do is this idea. We have a beginning to something, we have an end to something. We go from point A to point B. Space and time are inseparable. So to think about having no beginning, no past, and entering a space with no beginning, no end, I can see how that's really interesting.
Yeah, it immediately brings you to the present moment because thinking is just the vacillation, a mental projection of a past or a future. So if you pretend that you just arrived here, no past, no future, you can't think. It's actually impossible. So there's meditation in 1 second. And I'll give you what it is that I perceive, by the way, which you might find interesting in terms of, you talked about multiple personalities. So I've worked with plenty of people, and my direct experience, and through using my own higher consciousness state and abilities, is that multiple personalities has to do with multiple souls within.
Yeah, I've always wondered that.
Yeah, that's what I experienced directly. And in fact, there's been doctors that are treating, patients that appear to have multiple personalities and do. And what they would do is they would do full blood work on one personality. Then the personality would change, right? So a whole nother personality takes over, right? They would do blood work on that person. The blood work's completely different.
Yeah.
Because it's
how powerful the mind and the body can or relate. Now, when you say souls, though, is that different, like possession souls, or is that different incarnations from past lives?
No,
because that's one thing I've wondered.
No, so a soul, like I'm a soul, you're a soul, and everyone, there's a soul in our dog and our cat and a bird.
Yeah.
Okay. So and a soul is two things, and I can explain that in a minute.
Yeah. So.
No, these are actual souls like me and you.
Okay, separate from the individual that are occupying the same space.
That's right. Think about you and your friends agree to drive to the mall, right? And you're going to drive and you're going to pick up your friends, right? Okay. So it's kind of understood that if you're going to pick them up, that you're going to drive and they're going to sit in the back of the car and they're going to enjoy the ride. Okay. So a human experience, because of the lower frequencies, are so different. It's very intoxicating. And so the souls that are supposed to sit back in the body and just go for the ride for the incarnation get too excited, and they reach up front to grab the wheel to take control of the incarnation. And so you have this back and forth fighting for the wheel, which is really what multiple personalities is, instead of the agreement which was there from the beginning that there would be one driver and there'd be some people sitting in the back just enjoying it. They get too excited and try to take over. And that's really, from my direct experience, that's what multiple personalities is. It's multiple souls.
Wow. I've wondered, there's a lot of possibilities to that idea. There's, other mental conditions too, like, or that might be beyond what the, psychology explains they are. It could be related to the spiritual, like schizophrenia and, spirit possession, and what are the relationships. You want to hope people are going to seek medical advice, see a doctor, see a psychologist, but there could be other things tied into this, like, in that sense, you're saying it's not even a possession, that they agreed upon coming into this incarnation with a couple tag-along spirits that are, going to just supposed to witness the ride, but ended up taking over.
Yeah, exactly right. And remember, the physical, everything in the physical comes from the spiritual. So it's the spiritual that infuses and creates the physical. And that's part of the problem with healing, is that we're only addressing the physical, but it's the spiritual that gives birth to the physical. And so issues arise not in the physical, they arise in a higher frequency, whether it's our own thoughts, our emotions, or things that we're carrying with us. Eventually, they manifest themselves within physical reality, because we then have the tangible experience of what it is that we've created for ourselves: stress, anxiety, depression, trauma, whatever it is. We then have the tangible experience of it. And that's what physical reality is for, to have a tangible experience of our own intentions. And this only exists within physical reality. As you go up in higher frequencies, there's no frame of reference for the lack of physicality. These realms have to be experienced ourselves. But in terms of healing, my goal is to open up people's minds to see what's actually possible when we start to address the energetic or the spiritual or the metaphysical first, and then see the results in terms of what happens with the physical, because energy is projected downward into the physical. So when we just address the body, it's kind of like we have a leak in the basement, and we keep cleaning up the basement over and over and over again. Yeah, but the leak is on the 3rd floor. So you can keep cleaning up the basement. You can keep treating the body over and over and over again, but nothing originates in the physical, and neither does illness.
What I wondered too, when you're telling about your experience, with the doctors and after the surgery, is to have a doctor tell you there's no hope, like you're never going to walk again. A lot of people face that situation, and the word of the doctor is the word of God, in a sense, that there's nothing I can do. You obviously knew differently, and change that. But for a lot of people, then they're told something like this, that's the reality it becomes. How much you think effects of other people's perspective, giving it to somebody, can affect them in this situation?
Well, completely, if they believe it.
Yeah.
100%. If they take it on as truth, then it becomes your reality. That's how beliefs work, right? If you believe in something, it becomes your reality. So I don't identify with anything, so it didn't matter. And these are great. I had a great surgeon. He did a great job. Yeah. The damage to my spine is just like, you don't get better. That's just the way it is, right? So I wasn't going to argue with them, but I said to some of them, I said, listen, your past experiences have nothing to do with me. Has nothing to do with me. Your past has nothing to do with me. And then, they'd give me a strange look, but they would see me getting better. They'd see me getting better and better and better, and always in this kind of, meditative state all the time. So you cannot identify with what people say. That's what the ego mind identity is. It identifies with it. It sees itself in everything. So when you're detached, you can just have someone say something to you and you don't identify with it. You're just like, well, that's your opinion, and that's fine, but that has nothing to do with me. And so being that detached is super important. And in terms of healing, anyone who's listening or watching, you have to give yourself permission to heal. You must. Because your doctor might not, your wife or your husband or your kid or your neighbor. You have to give yourself permission to heal. The healer is within. The healer is within. It's not out there. It's not in a pill. It's not in an antibiotic. It's not in anything. The healer is within. Healing is the return to what is original to you, which is perfection, divinity, harmony, vitality, vigor, and that's within. It's not out there.
If I may, I had an injury years back where my knee was hyperextended. My main nerve was severed, and I ended up with drop foot. They had to do a surgery, tendon transfer to hold my foot back up. And the doctor said, you're never going to be able to wear heels again. You're never going to do this. All this list said never, never, nevers. I said, no, I'm 20. This isn't going to be my life. So I went home and I would mentally think about my foot. There wasn't much feeling in it, but I would try to send the signals to my brain, to the foot, to where I would start getting my toes to work. And long story short, when I went back to see him, he couldn't believe how fast I was already recovering. He said, I've done these surgeries, I can't tell you how many times, and nobody has recovered as quickly as you have. And he's, what's your secret, this and that. And I wore heels. I can wear heels. I can do all the things that he said I couldn't do. But it was a lot of mind work.
Bravo. 100%. The power of our higher mind combined with intention. Intention harnesses the power of creation itself. And so when we're completely focused and we're bringing all of our attention and energy into one thing, that one thing has a much greater chance of coming into manifestation because we're harnessing all of ourself into one single thing. And so this is part of how healing really works. And you just proved it. And I'm certainly not the only one. My case might be, quite extreme.
Yeah.
And then these states of consciousness that I'm able to experience might be different. But the understandings are the same. The healer is within, and the power of the higher mind, when we harness all of our energy, we can do anything, including unparalyzing ourselves. It is absolutely possible. I wouldn't even say it's possible. It's our divine right. And I would even say it's our destiny.
I mean, imagine how it would change humanity in the medical field if this was more accepted, this idea. You'd have doctors maybe not giving, such dreary, like, you're never going to walk again statements, like, well, let's not tell them that because we don't know.
Yeah. And eventually everyone is going to have to go back to school and to start to learn some of these metaphysics, because metaphysics is actually how things really work. It has to do with frequency, vibration, and energy. I mean, that's how things really work. But if we reduce ourselves, as I said earlier, Jason, to just body consciousness, which is just the very limited bandwidth that our five physical senses are attuned to, and that data that comes in, that's what forms the intellect. That is almost nothing. It's literally almost nothing. In fact, I would tell you that it's 99.997 of what we're not picking up.
Yeah.
So we pick up 0.003. That's it. That's how little we're actually working with when it's just body consciousness, five senses, and then therefore the intellect. It's nothing. And when we start to use our higher mind, and meditation is the doorway, when we start to use our higher mind and we start to command our energy properly, there's nothing that we can't do. Absolutely nothing.
What do you, let's define for some people who might not be familiar with the terms, like you talk about the ego mind and the higher mind. Can you talk a little bit before we hit our next commercial break about what both those things are, so people understand? Like, I mean, people think of ego as their character or their, I think you have a little bit deeper meaning to that, most likely.
Yeah, and I don't. If we're gonna cut to a commercial,
We got about 15 minutes till commercial.
Oh, okay, because I tend to ramble, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time. Okay, so there's a lot that I'm trying to share. Okay, so the ego mind identity, or what I call the EMI, which is the human character, but it goes past that. It has to do with the identifications that we make. So let me give a couple of sort of visuals, even with my hand. Okay, so think of an octopus. Okay, and I know it's my fist, but pretend that this is an octopus, and then it has tentacles, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we really are is a part of a much larger being, and in esoteric, it's called the higher self, or the Godhead, and it's what I call our totality, because it's everything we've been, are, and will be. Okay, so picture this higher self existing in a much, much higher dimension, because that's how this works. When this higher self wants to experience the lower frequencies of physical reality, what it does is it projects, just like an octopus dropping a tentacle down to see what the water is like down here. Our higher self, which we're a piece of, about 2.5%, our higher self projects a piece of itself. That's called a soul. It projects a piece of itself down, and that's what we are. Now, before we get projected down here, we are our higher mind. We are completely connected to everything. We are completely part of everything. There's no such thing as separation, division. There's nothing out of your realm. There's nothing out of your understanding. There's nothing that you're not connected to. Okay? That's our natural state. Okay. Now, the unnatural state is the incarnation, which is when we actually do get projected down, just like a tentacle dropping down from the octopus. As we're coming down in frequency and in dimension, we're losing consciousness. We're literally, and we're getting reduced, and then we actually slide into this little suit, this human suit, and then we attune and immerse ourselves and thinking that we are the vehicle. So we then reduce ourselves to this egoic mind identity, or just the five senses, and everything that's just here. We've lost complete connection to our own higher mind, to what we really are. Yeah. And we reduce ourselves to our ego mind identity, which is our human character and everything that we identify with upon incarnating. So that's the simplest and shortest way I could say that.
Yeah, I've always tried to understand that concept. I've heard and read about the higher consciousness and the ego, and I got my mom's a Buddhist, and I got studying into Buddhism. They do a lot of focus on this in a sense, of the ego, and trying to not be attached, and in your meditation not to be attached to your thoughts, to watch things progress, and like try to get you into that present moment. And I've always tried to understand what my ego is, like my character. I mean, at one time in my life, I remember my early 20s, I separated myself from a lot of my friends. Nothing against them, but I felt like I was projecting myself as how they saw me. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt I'm not this person they see. I'm not this person they think I am. And I took a different path, and I started being who I really feel I am. And I wanted to live more truly authentic, maybe to another ego, to the intended ego, I guess. I still know it's an ego, but there's at times I think people aren't even they're living a projection of what people picture them as. They're not even living true to the original ego intent.
Yeah, absolutely. So the ego mind identity is our accumulation of identifications. So everything that we identify with becomes part of our ego mind identity. And
I like this, I don't like that.
You got it. So every single identification, starting with the body, thinking that we are the body, and now, just like I said, we've now reduced ourselves to body consciousness. We just lost the higher mind because we actually think we're human. So now we've put a complete wet blanket on top of our consciousness, and we can't go past just what the five senses perceive. So that's the real dooming of the higher consciousness, is when you first identify with the body. Anything else that you identify with, a belief, a concept, an experience, a bodily sensation, your conglomeration of identifications becomes your ego mind identity. And your ego mind identity is a limitation program that runs by thinking. And what's the remedy to thinking? Meditation.
And what kind of, I hate to get on a soapbox here because I'm no better than anybody else, and I'm on social media too, is with social media, with where we're at in society, everything's becoming about the ego. You know what I'm saying? With people posting, like, I just took the biggest dump in the world and posting it on social media. Like, everybody's posting their lives up there, and I like this, or I hated this movie. I'm not saying people not, I'm no different than anybody. We're all doing it. But I feel like, at the same time, while there's more people becoming more spiritual and waking up to these ideas, like I said, there's also a part of that's going the wrong way because we're getting so self-absorbed.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay. I know it may not seem like it's okay, or it may not feel like it's okay.
I'm just a little worried about humanity. That's what I'm saying.
I totally understand, and so maybe let's look at it from a different perspective, from a higher consciousness perspective.
Okay, that'd be great. Okay.
So if we start to realize that, know the essence, what's inside the human, the soul, if you want to use that word, no two are alike. Okay, Let me give another example. Because that'll take too long. If we walked into a second grade math class and they were doing their multiplication tables and 4 plus 8, and so on and so forth. If we walked in there and saw that second grade math class, we would not look at those second graders with disdain or contempt that they're only doing multiplication tables. We would be totally okay with it because that's where they're at. It's totally fine. They're second graders. It's totally okay. Apply that understanding to this planet, and you'll start to understand that there's tons of second graders, third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders, sixth graders, seventh graders, eighth graders, ninth graders. There's high school students, there's college students, there's professors, and so on and so on. It is such a wide berth, okay, that we have to be able to accept that this is where some souls are at. Now, where you're at, Jason, being violent, being aggressive, you've learned those lessons. You've moved past that, so you don't operate that way. But that's because you've graduated certain grades. You've been here enough. You've accrued enough wisdom and love that you don't operate that way. Well, not every soul has. So it's okay exactly where they're at. And when we start to work in that way and not hold anyone in contempt or have disdain for where they're at, then we start to realize that this is just life, and it's consciousness evolving itself. And no two souls are at the same level. So we have to let everyone evolve in their own way and in their own time. And we're seeing an incredible expanse of various levels of what I call sentience or divine intelligence, which is what we really are, what people use the word soul for. It's various levels, Jason. And that's why you see some people operating in a way where you may think, or I may think, God, don't they know better? No, they don't.
My ego mind's a pessimist. As I've been reminded by several of my friends on the worry wart. I think too much, and that's like I'm probably the opposite of what you're teaching, Chantel, because I am because I'm trying to be better. I am trying to be better, and do or do not. There is no try, but I'm trying to be better, not be the pessimist, not be the worry wart. And I like your perspective on that, and I see that. I've always been fascinated by what we are in our characters, our ego, who we are. I've tried to put myself, I'm one of those people who's very empathetic. I try to put myself in other people's shoes. But I had two life-changing dreams, I would say, that showed me past lives, where I was other people. And that's where I got fascinated, like, what am I? What is this ego? If I was, one, a little black girl that was a slave beaten to death, and two, a monk who was shot by soldiers. Like I had these very vivid two dreams that I swear showed me a past life. I was these other people, and I've been fascinated ever since. I mean, I've always had an idea and a feeling that reincarnation was real, that we've been in other people. But then, what does that make me? What does that make us if we're like I said? I mean, a different person, a different life, and I don't even remember those memories. Like, what does that make us?
It makes us everything. It makes us all of it. So as an image, think of a wave riding along on the ocean, right? So for a moment, temporarily, that wave almost has an individual existence. It's riding, and then all of a sudden it crashes and it goes completely and gets completely back and enveloped back into the ocean, and the wave is no more. So our incarnation is almost like a temporary wave, where it seems like we're separate. It seems like we're apart from everything. But I promise you, the moment that you leave your body, the moment that you leave your body, everything will come back to you. You'll look at your body with absolutely no longing or no lamentation over it. You'll know that it's not you, and all this remembering will come back. And then at that moment, the wave has crashed right back into the ocean, and you start to realize that you're actually everything. It's the temporary experience of individuality through the creation of the ego mind identity, by losing consciousness, by coming down and being projected into the lower frequencies of the physical universe and identifying ourselves with the human experience is what creates the separation.
See, it's just something that's so much fascinates me, the idea that, this ego or is a presentation in a sense. It's not who we really are, that there's this higher self to us. But at the same time, there's a part of us is like that, as a society and the world, we celebrate individualism. We especially lately in society. Is the ego mind a bad thing, or is just another part of the experience? I mean, or it should be looked at as a bad thing?
Well, no, it's not a bad thing. It's just an experience. It's an experience in limitation. Is really what it is. We're experiencing a limitation by incarnating within the lower frequencies and having the experience of being separated from one another. So it's not bad or good. And in fact, from a higher consciousness perspective, there's absolutely no such thing as bad or good. It's just called experience. It's from a human perspective that we label things.
We judge.
Right. Well, it's a label. That's good. That's bad. That's right. That's wrong. According to what? According to the belief systems that you've identified yourself with. If you don't identify yourself with any belief system and you completely remove yourself from the idea that you're human, you would just see experience happening. You wouldn't label anything. And then wisdom is not seeing what's going on, it's seeing through it. And when you start to see through things, everything changes. So the ego mind identity is an experience and limitation. And we need to experience every nook and cranny of God's multiverse. That's the whole thing. God learns through us. And as we learn, God learns.
That's exactly how I've always felt. See, when I listen to you in another interview, and I don't get to do that often with guests, hear them on another interview. It just happened. I was, this guest's going to be on my show. I'll listen. And it was George Nori. And these things you say about the multiverse and what we are, things I feel like I've had embedded in me as a belief since my earliest memories. Like I never could accept any religions, I've always been totally fascinated by religions of many different kinds, but I always had this inner philosophy, inner idea what reality is, and it's pretty close to what you've been talking about tonight. And it's just something that naturally how I've always felt about reality and who we are. I always tell people I always felt like an alien. Not to say I'm better or any different than anybody else. I feel like we're all aliens in a sense, but. When I was a kid, I was fascinated with the Matrix movie, which I just watched the newest one, C-. But I'm always fascinated with this idea that in a sense of this is an avatar, this is a presentation of a character. I mean, it's one reason I always, I read books. You read a story, you get into that story and that character, you're living that character for a moment. As a child, I imagined like this could be really happening in some multiple parallel universe. The story is real. I had a wild imagination as a kid, and I still do. But these ideas that we parallel universes, and that we are just a presentation of something else. Like this is just a story and a character we're playing. Like an actor takes on a role. It's things that I've always believed since I was like a little kid, like just embedded in me.
Yeah, well, because it's true. If you think about the projection. If we go back to the ridiculous octopus and the tentacle, right? Okay. So the whole idea is, so when we are what we really are, there's no identity whatsoever. It's the ocean. It's no longer a wave. It's the ocean. So there's no identity. None. Okay? So that's important to understand. That's how we naturally are. Now, upon the tentacle dropping down or the higher self projecting a piece of itself, which is what we call incarnation or birth, we then slide into this suit and we completely identify with it, and then we identify with beliefs, concepts, ideologies, experiences. You put all those identifications together, that's your character. That's a human character. It's not who you are at all, because you're aware of every thought. You're aware of every emotion. You're aware of your body. You're aware of the experiences the body has. So you cannot be the awareness and be the thing that you're aware of at the same time. That's impossible. So you are this sort of self that has no identity. It's the ocean. It's the totality of everything. Then that's what's actually operating between the heart and the spine. But we create a character, and because we're obsessed with our character, we then think it's real. We lose ourself in the character. Now, our ego mind identity, when we watch a movie, we know those characters aren't real. We know it.
But we suspend belief.
But neither is yours.
Right.
It's just as fake. It's just as fake. So when we start to really get detached, and this is part of how authentic self-realization or enlightenment and authentic self-healing starts to work, there has to be true detachment. You have to realize all of these things tangibly, not just mentally. Tangibly, we have to start to experience complete detachment from the body. We have to start to be able to command our energy so the energy doesn't go up into our head, which means we just keep thinking. So the energy doesn't rush forward, so we start emotionalizing. We have to learn how to have control, just like a Jedi. We have to learn how to have control over our energy, over the Force. And once we learn how to command our body of energy, all these things that I'm talking about will become tangible for everybody, because it is what is. The character is just the justification for everything that we do. It's not the truth. It's the justification for everything that we do, if that makes sense.
It does to me. Like I said, it really holds dear to my philosophical inner thoughts since I can earliest remember. And that's why I've studied religions, looking for pieces that relate to this. We got to go to commercial break. We're already running late on that. It's so interesting. We'll be right back, guys. We're going to go to commercial break. And then we'll open up the phone line so you can call in, ask your questions or advice from our guest, RJ Spina, author of Supercharged Self-Healing, a revolutionary guide to access high-frequency state of consciousness that rejuvenate and repair. When we come back from the short commercial break.
Into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift. A refreshing and fun read, I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Edgar Allan Poe wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is "42. Yes, I thought it over quite thoroughly. It is, it's 42. It would have been simpler, of course, to have known what the actual question was.
But it was the question. The ultimate question. Of everything.
That's not a question. Only when you know the question will you know what the answer means.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID Jblandoo or Jblandparanormalsoup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is RJ Spina. He's a metaphysical teacher who overcame chest-down paralysis, diabetes, pancreatitis, a lot of serious illnesses, and he was able to tap into the higher frequencies and heal himself. You know, like Jedi abilities here. This is what we're talking about tonight. Let me make sure the phone lines are open. You can call in, ask RJ a question or two. Let me see here. Yes, they are open now. Call in, join the conversation. His book, you definitely got to check out, Supercharged Self-Healing, a revolutionary guide to access high-frequency states of consciousness that rejuvenate and repair. We all kind of need that right now, don't we? I think we always need that. Like I said, I've had this kind of inner knowing about, I'm not saying I know everything or anything like that, but what I thought my childhood theory of reality was. And when I listened to RJ, he was on George Norrie's show, I was like, I can't wait to have this guy on, because he's tapping into a lot of stuff I've just deep down always felt about reality and what we are. It's just actually knowing it and living it is what I'm trying to do. How about you? Call into the night, ask your questions of our guest, RJ Spina, but let's go ahead and get back to the show. Thanks for hanging in there with us, RJ. Rob had to take off, but we still got Jamie. She'll be back with us in a minute. So, we're getting a lot of deep thoughts here, a lot of deep stuff, but you say not to think. I think that's the hardest thing for people to conceptualize is like, what do you mean don't think?
Yeah, like I say that the human beings, the default setting is to think, but that's simply because we're in a foreign environment and we're almost in a perpetual reactionary state or a fight or flight mode. And so the ego mind identity is kind of based off of that, because it's kind of like when you drive in a neighborhood that you're not familiar with. You drive a little slower, a little more tentatively. You could even say there's a low level of fear going on because it's just you're in an unfamiliar place. Well, That's the same for us here right now. This is not our home. No one is from here. And so instead of allowing ourselves to be calm and present, hence no thinking, we're naturally on edge and stressed out pretty much all the time, which is why everyone gets sick. So what we want to do is just give ourselves permission to be present. The energy drops down into the mental body, drops down into the emotional body. And now you have full command over your energy. You actually become powerful as you get your energy back. When you're using your energy constantly to think, emote, to animate the body, and use your energy to be attached to beliefs, concepts, you've already drained most of your gas tank. And so this is why human beings lack sometimes the potency to create the life that they want, because they've used up half their gas tank already and all the things that they're attached to and their incessant thinking and emoting. So the key is to detach from everything, which then gives you your energy back. And then give yourself permission to be completely present. And now we're talking full Jedi.
Yeah.
And now we can really do anything. But the thing is, Jason, this is nowhere near as difficult as people think it is. They just don't practice it. And frankly, they haven't been taught properly. So hopefully this book is the first step amongst a series of books, by the way. But the first book and the first step in people being taught properly in terms of how to actually heal yourself and how to actually experience authentic self-realization.
You know, one of the things that helped me, and Zach, we got on the phone line, I'll get to you in just a second, but I wanted to talk about this and I had somebody on that was a Taoist master, and I see his name right. That's the book. I just had the book here. It fell. One of the things I got into was Taoism. Was his name? Master Z Gang Sha. It was really, really great guest. But, you know, one of the things I related to as a kid was the Force and Star Wars, like Empire Strikes Back, Dagobah, Yoda, and Luke. That's like one of my favorite movie. I could watch that all over a billion times over. But there's something that touched upon me as a kid. Like this is Yoda's capturing my idea of what I feel like if I had a religion, it'd be Jediism, you know. But when I grew up as an adult and I started studying different philosophies, Taoism really I got into and helped me with meditation and like what they call walking meditation. I have anxiety issues and worrywartness. And one of the ways I would deal with it is something I learned just through a Taoist method. With that, started getting that chakra energy. I started to try to work with it. I read this book, The Barefoot Doctor's Guide to the Tao, many, many years ago. And he had this thing called Scoop the Loop. You visualize, and it wasn't really beyond visualization. I could feel the energy. Would literally go up my spine, up around with the breath and out. And this would like get rid of my anxiety and give me energy. Like when I've had 3 hours of sleep because I suffered insomnia, it would give me energy when I needed it. And I've still used that to this day, and like it's like when I would be in meditation, I try to think, don't think. That doesn't work. It doesn't work because I'm thinking, don't think. And the next thought that comes is like what helped me, and I need to get back into this. I really want to, and I have a little bit, is when I would just become the energy, when I would just feel, not think about it, just feel the chakra energy. Like the crown chakra, I'd get lost in that energy, and I find for a moment or a time that I was not thinking and I was something else, and it's a weird experience. And then it's over the moment I realize it. I think about it, But it's that there's few moments I've had. I mean, I even had a moment where I ended up in a lucid, dreamlike world in a meditation. I didn't fall asleep. I literally just self-realized myself into a other reality, I guess you could say. It was like being in the Matrix or something, like a whole visualization, like, wow, I'm physically here. Totally different. I've had some weird experiences with meditation over the years, and I really want to get back into it and get out of my worrywardness.
When you mention I'm sorry. When you mention the breath work, that's something that has helped me immensely with my anxiety. There's so much to that breath work.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful tool. One thing that we can also do, we can try right now if you like, is we've all seen water, drain from a bathtub or from a sink, water going down, right, or from a pool. Okay.
Yeah.
So just imagine the energy, because it takes energy. You have to actually push energy up into your mental body to think. If there's no energy in your mental body, you actually can't think. Okay, so just imagine, just like water draining, imagine the energy dropping down out of your head. Just like water draining from a bathtub. Let it drain right out of your head, dropping down, dropping down. Is your mind blank, by the way?
Yeah, it was until you said something.
Right. Okay. So that what we just did, and anyone who's watching, anyone who's
Yeah.
listening, and Jason yourself, okay, do this with yourself. If we're having trouble, right? If we're stressed, anxiety, okay. By the way, and if we kept going, and I should have maybe kept going, we would then go down past the emotional body. So what happens is these are one of the things that I work with people that have anxiety or depression. Mental illness is a big issue right now because of the way the world is.
Yeah.
Depression and anxiety. So the key is energy. If you remove the energy out of your head, you can't think. And if you keep going down, just like water draining from a bathtub, if you keep going down past your chest and your tummy, you can't emotionalize either. And then where the energy originates or sits when we're incarnate is just beneath the belly button, but just above the groin. So the lower belly, right? Okay.
Right.
So one thing that we can all do, and by the way, there's people all over the world that do this, by the way, the people I work with.
It's ancient, actually.
It is. So you just let the energy drop down right out of your head. Mind is blank. Let the energy keep dropping down past your chest, past your tummy, and then just put your hand, believe it or not, just beneath the belly button and above the groin. And just connect with the sensation of touch there. You're just aware of the sensation of touch. Bring your attention and focus just to that sensation of touch. There's no way to think and there's no way to emote. All you have to do is practice that, practice that, practice that. I promise you, pretty soon you will be in perpetual walking meditation without any effort.
And then, see, I used to, like I said, my mom's a Buddhist. She discovered that later in life, of course. But I got into it too. We both separately did. It wasn't like my mom influenced me on it either. We both kind of separately went to it. I'm not a Buddhist. I have a lot of things I believe that Buddhism really captures. I don't subscribe to any religion per se. Let's just say, non-denominational spiritualist, you could say. But Buddhism really touched upon that, and I would learn from meditation about how, they would talk about another mind that's below the navel, in the belly, that you would touch upon. Like in Zen Buddhism, they do this focus of that breathing with that to touch upon that energy. But it seems like you got a book this thick about it, but what you're touching upon really just gets down to the brass tacks of what it is literally the mind needs energy to work. So take that energy away and put it into the more, what do they call it? They had a name for that energy there, at least in Zen Buddhism. I can't remember it now. It's been many years.
Well, what we're talking about, by the way, that's right. The energy, if there's no energy in the head, you can't think. Commanding your energy is the key to everything. We use energy for everything. So in order to become a real master, you have to learn how to master your energy. Now, if there's no energy in the head, you can't think. So you remove the energy, and now the mind goes blank. The same thing, it works the same way for sickness and disease. If the sickness and disease doesn't have an energy source, it can't run. And so this is one of the things I discovered in this higher state of consciousness too, and that's one of the steps that's in the book about how to turn off the program of illness.
See, one of the things I've always wondered, just knowing people in life, I'm sorry, Zach, I'm making Zach hold. There's so many things I want to get to. Zach, we're going to get you. He always has great questions. But one of the things I've always wondered is I've seen people in my life who were fine. They went to the doctor. They're giving a terminal diagnosis or a bad diagnosis, and they take a quick turn for the worse. It's like after getting the diagnosis, not saying they didn't have the problem before the diagnosis caused it, but it seems like just that idea that's put into their mind that you are terminally ill, they become terminally ill. Like they take a 360, and things go really bad. So I've always been fascinated with the idea of how the mind and body affect each other just by our belief system and what we believe reality is.
Whatever conceptualized reality that we create for ourselves, the body has the tangible experience of that. That is the mind-body connection in one sentence. Now, most people, Jason, understand at this point, if we're making ourselves crazy, stressed out, freaked out, we then realize we're making ourselves sick. We've had this tangible experience.
I've been there, done
it.
it.
So we kind of know that now, which is great because now we kind of know that. But what humanity doesn't understand yet, well, now they do. What humanity hasn't understood yet is that it works the other way as well. So if you create this incredibly expansive state of consciousness, your body has the tangible experience of that as well. So it goes both ways. This is part of how I unparalyzed myself. It's part of it. It's not the whole thing. That's absolutely part of it. So that's important that we understand it goes both ways.
Totally makes sense to me. Now, we got a couple people waiting on hold now, so we probably should get to the phone calls. I got Zach that's been waiting. So we're got two people on hold. Just hang in there for the other person waiting, but I know I've got Zach waiting, so let's go ahead and get him on. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. Jason, Jamie, how are you both doing this evening?
Doing great.
All right, so I have two questions this evening. I'll keep them nice and brief. Hey, RJ, it's very nice to meet you, man. So my first question, I'm hearing your story, how you overcome all these ailments, which it's an amazing story. My first question is to really unlock your full spiritual potential, did you ever have to make any adjustments over to your dietary habits? And if so, what were some of those changes?
Oh, God, that's a great question. So in the book, I talk about fasting. And so throughout periods of my life, but especially once I got sick, I did a 21-day fast. I didn't eat anything. Well, actually, I didn't eat anything for 14 days. I had a small meal and then fasted again for another 7 days. So what I did was I completely reset my entire body. I literally reset it, cleaned it out and reset it, starting fresh, brand new, sparkling clean by really essentially fasting for 3 weeks. The other thing to understand about that, and it's in the book, it's they wouldn't allow me to make it a chapter, so it's just an appendix, but it's a good 10, 15 pages. While I was doing this 21-day fast, I would log into myself, using my higher consciousness, and I'd be able to see what was going on with my body. So I time-stamped what happens to our body when we fast. So now we know after a certain amount of time, T-cell production starts to happen. After a certain amount of time, growth hormone starts to happen. So I time-stamped everything. So one way, if you're going to be supervised, I'm not telling anyone to go fast for 21 days without supervision.
Yeah, don't.
Okay? No. But fasting is absolutely incredible in terms of the recuperative and regenerative powers. There's a reason why every authentic mystic and master talks about meditation and fasting. It's because it completely purifies you in every single way.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I actually went on the keto diet about a year ago.
Oh, no.
In addition to losing weight along with it, I also did the 12-hour fasting, and just it really helped me to not only just unlock my fuller spiritual potential, but also just made me feel a whole lot better. It doesn't help my credit score, but at least, hey, you know what? At least I lost weight, and I feel a whole lot better about myself.
That's good.
So my second question, it goes back really to the concept of the ego. I know that you guys touched upon that briefly earlier. To me, I'm more mixed about really the ego. It's both a positive and a negative thing when you think about it. But what role, in your opinion, RJ, does really the ego serve?
It's the ego is what keeps us here. So no matter how evolved, how advanced, how saintly, how pure, no being ever has been 100% egoless. Because if you were, you wouldn't be able to stay in your body. You would just leave. So the ego serves its purpose as an anchor. So it keeps us, hopefully, at the barest levels of being attuned to these frequencies and attuned to our body. So to me, that is really the only real purpose of the ego, is that it allows us to anchor us within the lower frequencies of the physical universe and therefore have a human or alien incarnation. So that's really what the ego does. We want to not allow it to dictate our incarnation, because when we map out our life plan, we don't map out our life plan based upon which identifications we're going to accrue once we come down here, right? It's a moment-to-moment basis, right? We map it out, but we got to work with the incarnation properly, moment to moment. So we want to only have the ego work in the sense that it keeps us here, but it doesn't actually derail us from fulfilling the life plan, if that makes sense.
That does actually make a whole lot of sense. Well, those are all the questions that I had. Thank you so much, RJ, for answering them, man. I do greatly appreciate it, and I love hearing everything that you're saying, man. Can't wait to hear more.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. You have a great night, bud.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right, we got another person on the phone. I don't know. Sometimes I get the wrong names with the numbers, so I won't say the name on it. But who do we got on the line? You're on air.
Hi, Jason. This is Debbie Schmoy.
Hey, Debbie. I see it comes up as a totally different name on the phone. I don't know why. It's something with my system. So, hi, Debbie. I saw you comment. You say you were going to try to call in, so I'm glad you did.
Definitely. Hi, RJ. Nice to meet you online here, and so grateful that you're the guest tonight. Really looking forward to speaking with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and I'm happy to speak with you, Debbie.
Okay, so I've been on a healing journey for a long time. I spent 15 years bedbound, and in 2019, my ex-husband left, and I basically didn't know what I was going to do. I was able to get myself to a point of moving again, and doing meditations, and I'm familiar with Reiki and the chakras, but I still have what I call flare-ups with nerve pain throughout my body and muscle spasms, things like that. How do you get past like your own limiting beliefs that the doctors put in your head? I had like so many say, you're never going to cure this. There is no cure for these disorders. You're always going to be in pain. Just get used to it. And I want to break through those limiting beliefs and believe that I have, the sovereignty in myself to do this. And I do believe, we can. I just don't know how to break through that and get to that level of sovereignty and just be able to connect with it and make it work, and so that I can just, heal.
Yeah. Okay. Great. First off, I'm happy to hear that you're doing better and you're making strides, and that's through your own determination and will. And please notice what I just said, how you're getting better through your own determination and will. Okay. And please get the book. I know it's already sold out. It's in its second printing already, and but you can get it on Kindle and you can get it on audiobook. The paperback will become available again. It's sold out very, very fast. Okay, so let's first talk about pain. Okay, and then we'll talk about how to get past limiting belief systems. Okay, so for myself, I had to learn, Debbie, myself. I suffered excruciating pain with my spine and the paralysis. It was levels of pain I didn't know existed, to be honest. So I understand. I'm sorry you experienced pain, but I truly understand what it feels like. So this is what I taught myself to do, okay? Anytime anyone gets a jolt of pain, okay, our natural reactionary state is to brace ourselves, okay, right? So that creates resistance. Resistance actually increases the pain, okay? Because we're giving it energy by resisting it, and then that actually increases it. Now, I realize that's how we respond to pain, but I had to teach myself how to do the opposite. So this is what I would do. When I would get tremendous jolts of pain through my spine or sometimes through my legs as I was healing myself, I trained my mind to not react to it. So instead, when I actually got pain, I actually trained my mind to relax. I would actually relax more. I would sink deeper into myself. I would sink deeper into my body, literally. And then what I would do is I would imagine that I was completely hollow like a balloon. No insides. Okay? No bone, no blood, no intestines, no nothing. Hollow like a balloon. So pain would hit. I would relax, and then I would imagine myself being completely hollow, and then I would imagine what it feels like to be completely hollow. So I would see it, and then I would imagine, what does it feel like to be completely hollow? Try that and watch what happens with your pain.
Okay, I can understand that because it's similar to what I do when I'm trying to manifest something. So I completely understand that. That makes sense. Now, after you imagine yourself completely hollow, is that when you like try to fill up with like the waterfall of light, or how do you go after you get to the hollow point, or is that just a pain relieving thing that you're doing?
Yeah, I would just strictly do that for pain. But then if you're just sort of want to start working on healing yourself, let's say the pain has now subsided, but you want to actually start working on healing yourself, that's the great way to start, to see yourself empty like that. And then open up your crown chakra. And one way to open up the crown chakra is to take your finger, put it on the top of your head, and then imagine reaching. I know this sounds weird, but it works. So your head, your fingers on the top of your head. Imagine reaching out gently from inside your head to touch your fingertip.
That's a cool way to do it.
It is.
Yeah. So, and by the way, so Debbie, you can do that with any chakra. Okay, so these are one of the things I teach in terms of opening our chakras. It's all about healing and self-realization. They're very related. They're not the same. They're related. So you could do the finger, third eye, throat, heart, etc. Any chakra that you want to do, it will fully open the chakra. Okay, so one of the things that we want to do and learn how to do, and with that very simple technique, is to do that with all your chakras. We want to have all our chakras completely open and fully extended. Okay, that's the starting point for self-realization, authentic enlightenment. That's the starting point. You have to have everything completely open. And then if you want to concentrate on the crown and then do the waterfall exercise, or what I call channeling intelligent energy into the body, that's how you can do it. Balloon, centered, finger, open, energy come in. And do it over and over and over and over again.
Okay. I'm familiar with like Reiki. I'm a crystal Reiki master, and I've done, I know how to open the chakras and stuff, but I just haven't had continued success with the way I was taught. But I am so open to learning other, new ways of doing things, and that is a fabulous way of opening the chakras. I've never heard that one before, and that's really cool, and I'm looking forward to trying that later on. I so appreciate, what you're doing and that you're sharing. My goal, ultimately, is to heal myself and then to teach others how to heal themselves. I truly feel in my heart that's one of the reasons why I'm here on this earth, to help people shift and to help them realize their sovereignty and to heal themselves from all the trauma in their lives.
Absolutely. There's nothing more noble. There's absolutely nothing more noble. Oh, and you asked earlier, Debbie, about the beliefs, right? The doctor telling you, hey, you're screwed, you're never going to walk, or whatever the doctor tells you, right? Okay. So how do we overcome these beliefs, right, that are handed to us? Okay. Let me give an analogy, okay? Because I like silly analogies. So imagine you're walking on the sidewalk, right? And someone comes up to you and says, hey, give me my car keys back. Dude, what are you talking about? I didn't take your car keys. Give me my car keys back. I know you took my car keys, and I know you're going to take my car. I have not taken your car keys. I don't know who you are, and it has nothing to do with me. And then that guy just kind of walks off, and he's still talking to himself about looking for his car keys, right? Now, that was a weird experience, but here's the thing. You would not take it personally because you never took his car keys. You never took it. So when someone says something to you, don't accept it. Just like you didn't take the car keys. If someone gives you a present, you're like, no, thank you. They have to take it back. So when the doctor says you're never going to walk again, you don't have to accept it. You don't have to accept it. Don't take it personally. Just like some random person saying, give me my car keys back. Dude, I don't know what you're talking about. You would just go on with your day. You'd be unaffected by it. So no matter what someone says to you, you don't have to accept it at all. And in fact, I suggest you don't accept anything that anyone says, and you determine your own reality for yourself. There's nothing more beautiful than owning your own mind. And the only way to do that is not to accept anything that is given to you. Always keep everything at an arm's distance in total observation and detachment, and just observe what's going on. If someone offers you a present and you say no, they have to take it back. And then it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to them. So keep it that way when someone says something. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So, like, send that energy back to them. I no longer accept this energy. I return it to sender. I'm not accepting it. Thank you, and have a good day.
You got it. You got it. In fact, if you start off this way, right? And Jason, you can even think of putting your energetic shield around you like a Jedi. And
yes, I have.
And right, exactly. So if you got that up, it doesn't matter what someone says to you. It's never going to come in. So this, I greatly recommend doing this. Having your energetic shield up, people can say and do whatever they want. It doesn't touch you. It doesn't touch you. And then you don't even have to send it back, Debbie. See, the sending it back is only after you've actually taken it, and then you have to do the work of sending it back. Don't take it in the first place. What someone else's opinion...
Well, this was years...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this was years ago. I actually stopped going to the doctors about 6 years ago because I just was like, you know what? They're full of it. They can think whatever they want to think. But
practicing medicine, practicing is the word.
Right. Right. And I'm like, that is belief. That is the way they were trained in Western medical schools. But I no longer believe this way, and so I'm not going to continue to go to them and continue to have them put me on pill after pill after pill and tell me that I'm never going to get better and that I need this medication, blah, blah, blah. I just don't believe it anymore. But at that time I did, and at that time, before that time I left them, I totally accepted it. I believed whatever they said, because I went to Western medical school. And so I was taught some of those things, and so I understand we believe the things that we're taught. But I got to a point where, through my spiritual awakening and taking, crystal Reiki and different healing courses, doing psychic development, medium development, things like that, I realized that the things that I took as reality and truth in my younger years were no longer my reality or truth. So I can totally see that and be able to not accept those things anymore. So thank you. That really helped me. And I'm going to start.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say you're very welcome. And see your sickness and disease as not part of your reality anymore either.
That's awesome. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to start that tomorrow when I wake up.
Well, thank you, Debbie.
So very much. Thank you for taking the time to take my call. I so very much appreciate it. Blessings to you all, and have a good evening.
You too, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie.
Bye-bye.
I saw a comment. See, we talk about pain. I've known people with excruciating pain in their lives, and my heart breaks for them because I can't imagine how some people go through the life of the pain that they're living with. Physical pain, it takes everything out of you. Ziriana here is a regular listener and caller into the show. She said, my pain lately is so bad, my doctor has given me a drug prescription, narcotic, and everything has gotten worse. It's very hard to function. I'm tired of this. And I've known so many people going through different medical problems with pain. They give you narcotics, but that's just a Band-Aid, and it stops working after so long.
Yeah, and narcotics are very low frequency, and so it actually it slows your frequency down, which makes you more tethered to the physical, which actually doesn't alleviate any symptoms at all. And so when we start to understand and work with energy and frequency, we'll start to understand what to ingest and what not to ingest. And narcotics are very heavy, dense, low frequency. So they bind you more to the body.
Makes the problems worse.
Yeah. It does. And like I said, nothing originates in the physical, including us. Nothing originates in the physical. Sickness, disease does not originate in the physical. We have to go up in frequency and start to examine the mental body and the emotional body to start off with. But I would say astral, mental, emotional. But once we start to understand those realms and work with our energies in those ways, that's actually how we heal ourselves. For pain, and I'm so sorry that you're experiencing pain, and I've been there. It's no fun. I understand it is absolutely no fun. But you can, as I was explaining to someone earlier, or just giving the explanation of it, the more that you don't see yourself as a physical being, the less pain you'll actually have. The less that you see yourself as a physical being, and you see yourself more as a pure energy being, the less your own physicality will have control over your consciousness. And so that's why I would envision myself as completely hollow, as just energy, a hollow balloon, right? And then imagine what it feels like to be that, because that's really what we are. There's no form to us. We're an energy being. This is a suit. There's no form to us whatsoever. Okay? So return to the truth. See yourself as hollow and empty, because you are energetically. It's complete. It's just atoms moving slowly, and it seems like it's physical. It's not. It's all empty space. So see yourself as a hollow balloon. See it, and then imagine what it feels like, and then stay that way. Stay that way. Stay completely hollow and empty. Stay as what you really are. Pain, discomfort, disease, sickness will have no place in a high-frequency environment. Those are all low-frequency experiences. If you create the reality of this expanded consciousness, as we talked about earlier, an expanded state of consciousness, your body will also have the tangible experience of that. This is true metaphysics, and this is how healing actually works. But we have to start to command ourselves properly, and we have to work with ourselves properly. And that was the whole reason why I wrote the book. So please avail yourself of the book. It has teachings that humanity is not currently working with.
But like I was just gonna use, humanity's not currently working with, because we got a pill for everything. I mean, you watch any TV show and there's a pharmaceutical commercial with 20,000 different side effects as they read them on by, and then they got a little smaller print of all the other side effects, and like my doctor's, my mom even thinks I might have psoriatic arthritis. My doctor's like, well, we can do a test and all that, but you already said you won't take the medicine for it. I'm like, nope, I won't. If it's something I'm living with, I'm going to find a way to deal with it, but I don't want to have to take an injection every other week or whatever for it. I'm just the type of person, if I don't, the only thing I take as a natural is CBD, but I don't want anything. I mean, if your doctor says you should, listen to your doctor, have your discussion, do your research, figure it out on your own. I am not making any medical recommendations, YouTube, for anybody. I'm talking just about myself and how I personally believe is I try to limit. If I can find a way to deal with it without having to take something, I'm going to, because I feel like I need to live my life and my body as if I didn't have access to any of that. And I just don't have a very much faith. We want so many quick fixes in this world now. And that's what I think our biggest problem is just give me a pill and it'll fix the problem.
Yeah.
But half time it's just masking the problem, and it never goes away at all.
Well, that's right. That's called treating. That's why they don't use the word cure, because it's just about treating and maintaining. We have to work in the way that we're talking about metaphysically to change our vibration and change the frequency by accessing higher states of consciousness. That's actually how healing works. It doesn't work by taking a pill or a tincture. Now, that being said, thank goodness for Western medicine.
Yeah,
because
not knocking it.
Yeah, if I didn't have that emergency life-saving surgery, we would not be having this conversation. So, without a doubt, Western medicine has its place. If I'm shot, bleeding, I have a crushed spine, don't take me to
You'd be a true Jedi if you could fix yourself on that.
Right. So when there's something going on like that, take me to a Western medicine hospital. It is as good as it's going to get. I would simply say in your day-to-day life, you don't want to rely upon, as much as you can, any kind of medicine. You want to be able to do these things for yourself in your day-to-day life. The emergencies, absolutely Western medicine. But your normal day-to-day functioning and your state of being, we have to learn how to do this for ourselves, because otherwise we're actually not even evolving. And that's a whole nother conversation, by the way, we haven't gotten into. But if you're not working on yourself, if you're not working on yourself, you're not evolving. And that's the whole point. The point of existence is to evolve your consciousness, not have someone do it for you.
Something concerning that I've been noticing with the younger generation on social media platforms is the increase in self-diagnosed anxiety, things like that, to where they're taking a lot of Xanax and saying that they can't even go to the grocery store without taking a Xanax, that it's it's too difficult to go to the store without that pill.
Yeah, we have to start to work with our energy. The simplest things that we just did, right? Energy dropping down out of your head, pretending you just arrived here, no past, no future. There's other exercises with the fingers in terms of opening the chakra that will completely stop anxiety and depression, and it's in the book. And I'm producing some other courses, and I have a mobile app. I'm putting some of these things in these new courses and in the mobile app as well, because anxiety and depression is the real pandemic that's going on this planet. That's the real
Exactly.
pandemic. So we have to learn how to work with our energy, because it's the energy in the head makes us think. The over energy in our emotional body makes us over emotionalized and get depressed. If we just simply learn how to work with our energy, all of those things start to disappear, and they start to disappear so easily without real effort, without drugs, without going through withdrawal from drugs, without the side effects of drugs. And you're doing it yourself, which is where the real evolution and self-knowledge or gnosis actually comes from. So everything is about what your energy is attached to, identifications, and then how to work with your energy. You have to release your identifications, and then you have to learn how to work with your energy. Then there's nothing that we can't do. Sickness and disease will start to be something that we're able to work with all the time. I promise you, 300 years from now, everything that we're talking about is going to be so commonplace. Everyone is going to be working with themselves in this way. Everybody. So right now, these teachings are a bit ahead of the curve, but they are the true metaphysics. And when we work with our energy, we can do anything, including self-healing.
And like I said, like me and Jamie, we talked about this on our New Year's show, because I was complaining about all these TikTokers watching people like peel potatoes, like these mind-numbing things. These people are so drugged out on. they're like she said, they can't like mentally handle things in life. And I witness this working in a job where I hire young people that they can't handle all these things. They're all getting prescribed, like she said, Xanax and all these other things that it's like, but you're not ever addressing what's causing the anxiety. Why are you depressed? That's why I've dealt with anxiety and depression, but I'd never wanted a pill to solve it. I want to know what's causing it. And I've looked deeply, and I have an idea of what causes my anxiety and depression, and it's helped me address it and help me deal with it. I take CBD. It has helped with anxiety because I had to have panic attacks. I don't anymore. And I don't think that's CBD that did that. It was me addressing why am I having the panic attack? What's causing it? What's the train of thought that's leading me down this road to suddenly, feel like I'm having a heart attack? And it's the worry wart mind.
Yeah.
It's the monkey mind talking, blah, 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 blah. Everything's going to go wrong. Everything's bad. We're doomed.
Right. That's right. So Jason, let's get a better picture of this, okay? In very simple terms. Our identifications, ego, mind, identity. So whatever we're attached to, beliefs, concepts, experiences. Okay. So think of another stupid analogy. Think of Spider-Man shooting his spider web. Okay. So when he shoots a spider web, he's now stuck to that thing because he's attached to it, right? Okay. Now, when we have identifications or attachments, that's our energy that we're using to identify with a belief, a concept, the body, an experience. That's literally our energy. And I know we can't see it, but this can see it. So our energy is actually stuck to these things. Now, whatever we're identified with or attached to, when we think or emote, we're only going to think and emote in relation to what our attachments are. That's the cause of anxiety and depression, is whatever our energy is already attached to. When the energy comes up to the emotional body, that's what we'll emotionalize over. When the energy goes up to the mental body, that's what we'll think about. And when the energy gets trapped in these things, that's how we develop anxiety or depression. It's that simple, and it's nothing more than that. So all we have to do is learn how to detach and start to realize the truth. We are not our attachments. We are the awareness of everything. We are the awareness of the belief, of the concept, of the body. We're not what we are aware of. We are the awareness itself. And when you realize that you are the awareness itself, your energy starts to return to you because you're starting to sever your attachments. You no longer think that you're that thing. You no longer think that you're that belief. You no longer think that you're that experience. You start to realize you're the awareness of everything. And as you realize you're the awareness of everything, you'll start to realize that you're not those things, and your energy starts to come back. As your energy starts to come back, you start to feel better. As you start to feel better, you won't overthink or over emotionalize because there's nothing to think or emotionalize over anymore because you're not attached to anything. That's how you overcome anxiety and depression. And it's very simple, and no one needs drugs. They just need to be educated properly. And that's what we're talking about today is proper education and then what to do to overcome.
See, and that, but I feel like we're at war with a system of beliefs in the society now that, like I said, everything's a quick fix. Everything's a pill. Everything can be given a medicine to diagnose. Aging, even. Like, they got a vaccine to stop aging. You know, everybody tells me never believes I'm 42. I get that all the time. And I personally believe it's because in my mind, I'm like 10 years old. Like, I'm a man child. I'll admit it. My wife will say it. You know, I'm a kid at heart. It's still not away from me. You can ask my children. I'm a bit of a kid at heart. I'm also gonna be an 80-year-old man at heart at times too. Like sometimes people call me old man at work, but in my mind though, I'm like with my imagination and the things I do, I'm a bit of a kid. You know, and I still feel that way. I can't believe I'm 42. So maybe that's why I don't look like it, because I see people I went to grade school with, and I'm like, wow, I'm doing good.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, Jason, you're connected to really what you really are, and so that's what is part of what keeps you young. The did you say arthritis? What did you say that you were?
Psoriatic arthritis is something like my mom thinks I might have because I'm not as bad as I was when I started to address it with, like I said, CBD and diet. And like I saw, I've just this year I quit eating fast food as much as possible. Like I bring my lunch, I eat a veggie burger. I try to eat not as bad as I was eating real bad to try to address it. But other things, like I said, CBD and also dealing with my own anxiety and depression, I think affect it. But people are like, if you can diagnose this, you can get, there's different things that they can give you. There's like 3 different, I think, prescription drugs out there for it. And I'm like, I looked up all those things. I'm like, nope, no, thank you. Kill your immune system for one, side effects the other. I mean, heck, I love the pharmaceutical commercials, like for toe fungus is my favorite one. Like, here, take this pharmaceutical drug for toe fungus. Side effects may vary: skitching, or itching, rash, bleeding, hemorrhaging. Like I'm like, I'll take the toe fungus, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, we want these quick fixes and all this stuff, but it just seems like it makes people worse.
Yeah, they're not quick fixes at all. I mean, that's just the marketing of it. Things like arthritis and fibromyalgia are neurological, so it has to do with an overactive mind. So I have a very overactive mind. Yeah, and I'm just letting you know because I'm logging into you to see you. It comes from your own neurological system, from too much overanalyzing and thinking, and then the nerves actually can't help it, and that's what gives us the fibromyalgia. That's what gives us the arthritis. It's too much activity. So this is the whole key about meditation and draining the energy out of your head. The most important thing to remember, I think, is that whatever conceptualized reality we create for ourselves, the body has the tangible experience. Don't create any reality. Your body will be completely free. It's very difficult to get sick in that state.
Yeah.
It takes practice, but it could be done.
One of the things I found that helped me with my anxiety and panic moments is just I would just the little monkey mind brain. I would have the little monkey mind I love that term from Buddhism, monkey mind, because it's like this chattering box of bull crap in your head, and I have it. It's quite active, but I would just say, can I do anything about it right now? Can I change any of these things? Is what I'm worrying about happening right now? No. Can I affect it right now? No. It was part of me just to let, this conversation, this kind of mantra I would repeat to myself, like, can you change it? Can you do anything about it right now? No. To let it go. Just to let it go.
That's the whole past. That's the whole past future, Jason. That's what I was talking about. Pretend you just arrived here. No past, no future. And that's exactly what you were just talking about. The anxiety was over. Can I change it now? No. If you pretend you just arrived here, no past, no future, there's no way to be anxious and there's no way to be depressed. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. It's the concepts of a past and future that we agonize over through rumination and projection by not having control over our energy. When we have control of our energy, there's no energy in the head. You can't think. So that the whole key is energy. And we start to work with vibration, frequency, and energy. And we are the supreme vibration. And by raising our frequency, we purify our energy. Vibration, frequency, energy. And nothing does it better than deep, higher states of meditation. There's been countless studies done that meditation literally changes our DNA. They've shown Buddhist monks who've been their brain looks different. So think about it this way. It only stands to reason that far deeper, more powerful states of meditation only increase self-healing by an order of magnitude. That's how self-healing works, through higher states of consciousness. And this is the key, and meditation is the door to the higher states of consciousness.
So I've always been fascinated with, Buddha, Jesus. People have attained something or realized something or come to enlightenment, as the term is, the way, what were the beyond just the miracles, that they would perform. It's like they tapped, like they're Neo in the Matrix. They've tapped into this. They see the coding, and I've been fascinated with, these figures throughout history. I do believe existed, do believe they tapped into something like this. This goes beyond just healing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, miraculous things some of these people that are in this high state of consciousness are able to do, that has been described throughout eons. People have come along that are walking on water, or doing things that are beyond what we can, we think are physically possible. Jedis, this is something that's fascinating all my life. Not to say I ever think I could reach that or do that. I just want to live a better life. But there is a possibility you're talking about here of people being able to do, beyond just healing themselves, some pretty miraculous things. I mean, astral projection, for one.
Yes. So the only obstacle is the ego-mind identity. So ego-mind identity are your attachments, your identification. So you can't go past what you're stuck to. That's simple, right? If you're attached to something, you can't move past it. You're stuck to it. Spider-Man in a spider web, right? Where's he going? If he's stuck, where's he going? Nowhere. Okay. So this is the same thing. The only obstacle, Jason, is your own identifications, is your own attachments. That's it. There is no actual obstacle. You've created them. All limitations are self-imposed. All of them. We create them through identifications. And the accumulation is the ego-mind identity. So whatever we have attached ourselves to, that becomes our prison. We can't go past it. So the whole key is to completely detach and know that you're just the awareness of everything, and to stay that way. And these beings that you mentioned and talk about, they're absolutely real. They absolutely have walked this earth, and some of them still do. And these beings will be able to access information that no one is accessing. They'll be able to do things that no one else is doing, and they'll be known by their work, the efficacy and the brilliance of their work. Yeah, absolutely. That's how you know them, not by someone who says they're enlightened. It's by someone who's accessing information that no one else is accessing, or doing things incredible with healing or levitation or whatever. You'll know them. They'll be completely different. They'll act different. They'll live different. They'll do things different. They'll say things different. And they're real. Of course they're real. And they keep showing up, which I think is interesting, by the way, because it's an interesting belief system that humanity has been allowed to further, in that it's allowed to think that we channel these beings, right? Where I found that most channelers are not channeling who they think they are, by the way. We could talk about that at some point.
Yeah.
But what that's allowed to think that we're channeling Christ or Buddha or Saint Germain, but it's not allowed to think that they actually keep incarnating. When the truth of the matter is, they do keep incarnating.
Lot to get to. We got half an hour left. We got to go to commercial break. We'll be right back. A lot to unpack there. A lot I want to talk about when we come back. Our guest is RJ Spina. We're going to go to commercial break, but it will be a short commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Intercepted the transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
I don't want to hear it.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID Jblandoo or Jblandparanormalsoup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest has been RJ Spina, and we're talking, he's a metaphysical teacher, author of Supercharged Self-Healing, a revolutionary guide to access high-frequency states of consciousness that rejuvenate and repair. And I'd like to get, the last half hour, I definitely want to take your calls, get your questions. If you still want to call in, we got our guest. But I want to get into his idea. I've heard him mention a couple times, what could we evolve into? Imagine how society would change if we accepted just some of these concepts. We didn't go for the quick pharmaceutical fix, and we looked deeper, and maybe became less attached to things. The world could use a little bit of that right now, I think. But our conversation's still going on. You can join that conversation, call in, but let's go ahead and get back to our guest. Jamie back in here too. There she is. Oop, there's the half screens. Okay, there we go. So you had mentioned let me make sure I get the phone lines open here for people. Sorry, hold on one sec. All right, phone lines are open. You can call in. You had mentioned earlier about what we could evolve to, or human, I guess, evolution in a sense. What do you mean by that? What do you think is the ultimate purpose of this human experience?
To not have to do it again. The purpose of incarnation is to not have to incarnate again. So it's designed to slide in, slide out, and when you slide in, form no energetic attachments, and you're able to slide out, don't form any karmic bonds, and then you will be able to ascend and move into a different state of being that has nothing to do with incarnation. So when Christ said to be in the physical but not of the physical, okay, this is what he is talking about. So the idea of, here's the tentacle again with the octopus. So the idea of sliding into the body and then coming right out. But while you're here, not forming any identifications or attachments with your energy, because that is what karma is getting stuck here through the energetic attachments or identifications. So the point of incarnation is to have it just be an experience and you're done, and not have to keep doing it over and over and over again. And the reason why we keep doing it over and over and over again is because we're forming energetic cords, energetic attachments. And this is actually what karma is what ties you here. So the point is just to come here, enjoy it, enjoy your life, enjoy the incarnation, and leave and form no identification with the physical universe, because you're not a physical being. And so that's really the key. So the point is to incarnate, enjoy it, and be done, and never have to do it again. And I'll add to that is that from my experience, accessing these things, is that the average soul tends to need to incarnate about 35,000 times to undo all their karma. Now, that has nothing to do with parallel realities, parallel conditions either. The billions and billions and billions of parallel conditions that we create with ourselves too, and I could talk about how a parallel reality is actually formed. But we're just meant to slide in, slide out. Don't form any energetic attachments here. This is really the key. And as we said earlier, Jason, the accumulation of your attachments or identifications is your ego mind identity. So the point is to have this experience, not have to incarnate again. The other aspect that we can do is once we've graduated from the Earth School, from any karmic ties to the Earth School, we can then incarnate if we like to, but it would literally be of our own volition. We wouldn't have to because we're stuck here through our energetic attachments. And there are plenty of souls, certainly not the majority, but there are plenty of souls that are incarnate right now. They don't have to be here. They've graduated, they've released themselves from everything here, but they keep coming back in order to help those that are still on their journey. So really what we want to do is we want to move on from this. It's just an experience. You don't want to take sixth grade over and over and over and over and over again, right? You just take it once and be done, right? So this is really part of what I'm obsessed with, is the evolution of consciousness and how to move it along with its greatest efficacy. And so how we do that is not forming any attachments, right? Being able to reside within the self and having complete control over our energy. That's really what self-mastery is like. Healing and these other things are aspects of it. Being able to commune with God and experiencing these other higher frequency states of consciousness and accessing this information are just ancillary effects of the things that I'm talking about. We just want to come here, enjoy it, and never have to come back.
When I was early 20s, like 20 before 21, I had actually thoughts, because I started like studying Buddhism, about joining a monastery and a temple. Like, I am done dating, I'm done with women. And then I met my wife, and I was like, and all my friends thought, he's never going to get married the way he is. I met my wife and connected. I love my wife and my children. I never discovered such love there is that could exist, because I until I became a father. But that's an attachment too. How does love in that play?
No, love is unconditional. It's the opposite of attachment. So love is unconditional. There are no attachments to love. Love is unconditional. And think about what that word means, unconditional. It's not related.
It's true. I mean, it is. Like my wife, my children could do anything. That love will never go away.
Right. So there's no attachment to that. Now, the ego mind identity might get a sense of itself through its attachment to the wife or the kids. That's different. But when we talk about love, love is the opposite of attachment. Love is literally unconditional. And it's the ground being of all existence itself. It stems from a vibration of love. And then the further you get away from love is when you actually get to physical reality. As you get further and further away from love,
right,
to the dense low frequencies. But it's the attachments, Jason. Loving someone authentically is the opposite of attachment. But we just need to look at ourselves and understand, are we getting a sense of ourself from the relationship?
See, you're nailing it there when you say loving somebody authentically. Because I've seen a lot of people tell me they're in love, but you know what I'm talking about. There's the identify themselves with that person. They don't even see each other really how they are. I've seen people in these relationships. I'm not saying my relationship's perfect or anything at all, but I've been married 18 years. I'm very blessed to have the marriage and the life I have with my wife and have a partner. I bring up Star Wars. I don't know how much you're into Star Wars. I am. But in the Jedi, they try to sever that completely. And it's like, I swear Lucas and the writers in Star Wars try to get to this point, is like even the Jedi have their fallacies. Because they try to separate the Jedi to have no attachments, no family. They take them at a young age, and they're never going to be married or have family, like a priesthood in a sense. But the only way we can resolve this problem of attachments is to cut it off completely. But it turns out completely wrong. You get Darth Vader out of it, basically. It's like they created their own problem, that they're missing something about the aspect of this enlightenment that the Jedi are searching for. I know I'm Star Warsing people out, but I've always been fascinated with this idea that love is something special. My experience with the shadow person that I had, I believe, saved by God or the source or whatever you want to call it, when I called and asked for it. And that feeling that I had when it let it go was the most pure moment of love I've ever felt. Except for when I saw my son before he was born. Came to me, there's a lot here. Came to me in a translucent spirit form. I saw my son Liam. I felt that love again. And also when I saw them actually born. It's that feeling. I call it the source. It's no words to describe it. There's nothing that can give it shape or form. It's only a feeling, and you only know it if you felt it. And it's complete, pure, no conditions, love.
That's beautiful. And by the way, that's what we all are. What you just said is actually what we all are. That is our natural state. And that state that you're talking about is actually tangible upon authentic self-realization or enlightenment. It's a perpetual state. Because you've released all attachments, you've released all identifications. What remains? Love. So this is what we all are. It's what everything actually is. We have to remove our blinders, which are the identifications. It's the only thing that blocks anything is our identifications. It's like trying to drive through a dirty windshield. You can't see anything. And the one that's looking out doesn't see anything for what it is. It just sees its own dirty windshield. Right? Most of us never see our beliefs, and therefore all we ever see are our beliefs. So, which sounds like a conundrum, but it's not.
No.
So we have to, that state and what you're talking about is the pure essence of everything and everyone. And eventually, every soul will experience that state even while incarnate. Some are already there, some are working their way there, some are halfway there, some just got started. Yeah, so, and it's no rush, no one's keeping score, there's no ticking clock, time doesn't really exist. Thinking creates the illusion of time. So, and it just has to do with low frequencies. When you don't think, there is no time. And when you don't think, you can access anything.
See, I've always been fascinated with time. I'm a big fan of time travel fiction. I'm fascinated by time. And my wife, this is why you can see why I'm married to my wife, would play a game on road trips where we'd cover the clock. We could not look at the time. And we're going to travel without looking or being aware of the time. And we're going to see if we can beat time. Because it says we cannot make it this far or this much gas to this point. And I swear to God, more than a few times we tried this, we'd get to a location faster and less gas by just not looking at the time.
Everything is completely manipulatable. Everything by power of intention, right? The force of will and power of intention it harnesses the power of creation itself. And so if we leave behind what we've been told to think about how things really work, because it's total nonsense, it's the opposite of how things actually work, right? What you and your wife do, that is absolutely possible. I do all sorts of weird stuff like that I'm really not going to talk about, to be honest. But absolutely,
this is the forum to do it, man.
This is
where we talk about it.
I'm hoping that what I did with my own body kind of speaks to that. But everything is energy. Now, what commands energy is sentience. Sentience is that divine intelligence or that love. That's what commands energy. So, and think about it. That's when I'm sending the directive to move my arms, right? I send energy up into my head to think. It's the sentience that commands everything. Everything can be commanded based upon the state of consciousness that you're in. And when we're talking about Buddha and Christ and Merlin and these kind of beings, they know this. They operate this way. And one of the things that people don't realize about those beings, from my perspective, is that they don't ask for permission. They've realized that they are a fractal of God themselves. They don't need to ask for permission. They just do it out of love. That's really the key. We need to unlock ourselves. We can do anything.
Well, that's what I loved about, Jesus. There's Christians that understand this concept. I'm not knocking Christians. There's plenty of Christians that understand this concept. I think Christians can find enlightenment in their own way in their faith. Some people disagree with me that, but I think faith is a powerful thing. I always say I'm jealous of people who have faith, because I question everything, but I have faith in certain things. I'm not certain principles in life, but I think faith can humble a person and to let go of their preconceptions, that trust in God. I think these can be beautiful concepts, and it can be, there's many doors of the Dharma, but for somebody like me who questions everything, I have to come to it my own road, my own path, because I think too much, right? I need to let go That's the main thing. I found in my life when I'm getting down to this thinking, I have to let it go. You don't know. Let it go. That's the hardest thing for me, is to let go of things. Like I can let go of a lot. I'm a very easygoing guy, but my train of thought will get focused in on something, like an unanswered question. It's like an itch in the brain I can't get to, and I just keep thinking about it. Eventually, I have to make myself, are you going to solve this problem? Let it go. And it's like somebody's moment of faith. I'm giving it to God. I have Christian friends that say when they have problems, they actually pray to God, and I'm going to give this to you. And I've seen people make fun of that, and I don't think they should, because it's its own door to the Dharma, if you know what Buddhism is, or, there's many ways to get there.
I give it to the universe.
Give it
under
to
my
the universe.
beliefs.
Yeah. There's a lot of beautiful concepts. Like I said, one of the reasons I love Buddhism is an acceptance of that. That's not the only way. I know people say with Christians, Jesus is the only way. I think there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, there is. Jesus is an individualized embodiment of the way, and there's been other beings that are individualized embodiments of the way. Buddha would be one of them. Muhammad would be one of them. Saint Germain would be one of them. There's many of them. They have embodied that purity.
Saint Germain, you keep bringing that one up. That's a really fascinating one.
Yeah, he's a real interesting character, that's for sure. And he keeps coming back all the time. This faith, there's 4 avenues or 4 directions of consciousness, and that this is in the book, that we can use this for healing. So there's only 4 ways that, from my perspective, there's only 4 ways that consciousness even works. It uses reason, which is 1. It uses emotions or feelings, which is 2. It uses faith, which is 3, or it uses its will, which is 4. Those are the only 4 ways that we can actually even work with our own consciousness. Faith is the direct, tangible connection to something greater than yourself. That's what faith is. And I suggest that everyone get connected to something deeper and more important within themselves, because if you don't, you're never going to be able to withstand the pressures of society. You have to be anchored into something deeper. But that deepness has to be within you, not outside of you. Because when you're trying to anchor yourself to something outside of you, it's actually disempowering, because your energy is leaving you. And that's why beliefs are disempowering, metaphysically speaking. Beliefs are disempowering. Faith is empowering. Faith is one of the things that I use to bring my body back to life, to literally put myself back together, was the direct, tangible connection to something far more powerful and expansive than myself that I felt within me. And I completely gave myself over to that. And that's what real faith is. It can move mountains, literally.
Yes. See, and I found my moment of faith, like I said, when people look at faith as, you believe in a certain religion. No, I found my moment of faith is when I was being attacked by this entity, when I gave up, and I believe there's nothing, I can't fight this. And I prayed to God in that moment. And for me, that faith is that I'm giving this to somebody else. I believe there's a light at that end of that tunnel that's there with me always. Because in that split of a moment, I knew that. Deep down, I knew that, and I called to it, and it answered, and I felt it, and it was one of the most powerful things in my life. And yeah.
We have a question in YouTube from Shell. She's been wanting to ask. I'm trying to find her original question.
I see something about, I see Curious George is really curious if this relates to 0 point energy.
Yes,
and actually, I've been thinking about a lot about quantum physics involved in this, like, the idea of perception and reality and how it affects things at the subatomic level.
Is the awareness related in any way to 0 point energy?
Yes. So, and I answered in that. I put 0 point or source point energy is the original state of both beingness and non-beingness. Wave and particle exist simultaneously. That's what.
I think she came in a little late.
Yeah.
Well, I've always looked at it. I'm like, Mick Swami wrote The Self-Aware Universe. Read that book a long time ago. It was my dad's. See, my mom's a Buddhist. My dad's a science atheist kind of guy, you know, but
Mhm.
he's really into quantum physics. I don't even like to call him an atheist because he's more open-minded than that, you know, about stuff. But he's very into science and he's very into quantum physics. So I'd pick up his quantum physics books and stuff. And I stole them from Mitt Swami's Self-Aware Universe.
Mm.
And it's a quantum physicist look at spirituality and why we need it in quantum physics to understand these concepts.
Yeah.
You know, and I still, it's almost like my only like a holy text to me. This book, I've had other people read it, you know, like, oh, that's way over my head. I'm like, it's not. It's really simple. You know, like the wave and particle. You know, you observe, you believe it's going to be a wave in this experiment. It's going to be a wave. You believe it's going to be a particle. It's going to be a particle. But it's really both. It's just which one are you looking at?
Well,
it's our perception of consciousness.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think what's missing, or I should say what's missing, even from what I've watched astrophysicists talk and some brilliant people, but there are some things missing with some of these. From my perspective, there's some of these things missing. We're also the same thing. We're also a wave and a particle at the same time, and so it is actually our own vibration and our level of consciousness that has the biggest effect on when we actually put our awareness or perception into something. So that I don't think is completely understood yet. So
right.
Yes. So because I haven't heard anyone talk about it, I'd be happy to talk with a physicist about what it is I experienced, because it may round out some of the things that they've are suspecting or haven't quite gone there yet. But it's something that happens within supreme states of consciousness. We are also the wave and particle, and depending upon our own vibration or our level of consciousness, that's the effect that it has on the energy itself. Our own consciousness has the effect on that consciousness, but it's the depth of our consciousness that actually has the biggest effect on the consciousness, on turning it into a wave or a particle.
See, I think there's your perceptions that affect your reality, but I also think there's mass consciousness perception that affects reality too. I think us, together with our thoughts, we affect our reality. I worry about that a little bit sometimes with the way, you turn on the media, what sells? Bad news sells, not good news. It's always bad news. Or you got to be worried. Look out for your kids. The next new thing's going to kill them. Like as a parent, that's, I was saying, like our media and everything's focused on more negative than it is positive. And I feel like we could doom ourselves a little bit by having this focus in society on the negative stories. I'm not saying, I don't think people should bury their heads in the sand or look away from negative things. I don't believe that, but I feel like we have this focus on the negative in society that, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense. Like we've talked about on the show that, when I was a kid, I felt like I was raised as the doomsday generation. We had all these Nostradamus specials and things that tell us the world's going to end. Like I had a lot of that in the 80s and 90s. Like, are we self-fulfilling our prophecy here lately is what I worry about.
Yeah, well, it's definitely magic. So I would just say it's black magic. So you present something, and if everyone believes in it, it becomes a reality.
Tell a lie enough, everybody will believe it. It just becomes
so
truth, right?
That's really what this is. You present something, you make everyone believe in it. That actually becomes the reality through our own belief, and that's really how it's very simple to do. It's very simple to control a planet. It's much harder to free it. But it's very.
That's
simple
what I'm saying. So how do we free it? One person at a time.
Yeah, it is.
Really,
it is. It's through
a long uphill battle.
It's. Think of it as. Here's another.
Like you said. Yeah, go ahead. Well, as I say, you analyze before everybody's in a different grade level, but some of those lower grades are affecting the upper grades sometimes. This is what I feel like.
Only when you identify with what's going on.
Right.
If you don't identify with what's going on, it has no effect on you. Right? Absolutely not. Right? So think of a glass of water, and there's oil in it. Right? The oil sits atop the water and doesn't mix in. Okay, we all have to do the same thing. We have to stay high frequency. We have to stay above it, which means don't identify, don't immerse yourself. Otherwise, the oil would sink right back down in with the water. And remember, that oil is staying above the water, and it's in the exact same environment. It's in the same cup. But the oil never mixes in with the water because it stays above it all. So this is really the key. You have to stay detached, just observe, don't immerse yourself because that drops your frequency. So that's really the key. And it does happen one person at a time. But there is a collective awakening I mean, as all these pressures are coming down, it's actually awakening people.
It's like a reaction to
the
it.
darkness always serves the light. The more dark they are, the more oppressive that they are, the more people wake up and the more they realize that this is not for me. So the darkness always serves the light. Make no mistake about it. And the news is just trauma-based mind control. That's all that is. So you have to stay completely detached from it. I mean,
Yes.
let's, part of this reality is just an IQ test, right? Just stay detached. Things will be very obvious. If you get caught up in it, you can't see the forest for the trees because you're identifying with it. So stay detached. But this detachment that we're talking about, Jason, has such far-reaching implications in terms of our own evolution of consciousness and our own power as an individual and as a species. It is the detachment where you gain your energy back. Detachment is power. We've been told to get involved and care. No. Detachment brings your energy back. If you want to be powerful, you have to be completely detached. Then you have all of your energy. And then you can do anything. And when you're detached, by the way, then you own your own mind. It's when you're attached to something that you're completely controlled. So, and these, by the way, all this stuff is in the book, even though the book is on self-healing and what I did to put my body back together. But the book applies to everything. The teachings and the truth is the truth. The book applies to everything. Many people I work with don't come to me because they're sick. They come to me because they want a better quality of life. They want to understand how to work with themselves better, not just because they have cancer or not just because they want to learn how to meditate. They want to learn how to work with themselves properly. And the teachings in the book is proper education in terms of what we really are and how to operate in this world.
Enjoy the ride while you have it.
Yeah.
I mean, life is a blink of an eye. The age of the cosmos. And if you're suffering the whole time or making yourself suffer the whole time, then what was the point? Gotta enjoy the ride, take the ticket.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I try to remind myself. Like, especially with my children, I'm enjoying my time with my children while they're this age, because it's only this fleeting time I'll have when they'll eventually be adults in their own lives and on their own paths. I'm enjoying it now.
The highest quality of life is to learn how to be present.
I agree, 100%.
That's where
might not practice it. I'm trying to.
That's where all the richness and the depth of every moment is available to us when we're simply present with it. And that's the real joy, is simply learning how to be present. Because what you actually experience is yourself. You experience the depth of yourself, self-realization. You start to experience the depth of yourself, and that's where the real joy comes from. And that's really the point, to know thyself, self-realization. Just be present and make that the new norm. The new default setting should be present, not thinking. To be present. The beingness is now online, and then just take the beingness and put it into the doingness. Beingness into the doingness. It's simple. It's joyous.
Not. There is no try. Yoda. I gotta say it again.
Yeah.
I was very heavily influenced as a child by Empire Strikes Back and the Dagobah Jedi training. But I always felt there's such a truth to it. And, when I know we're at the end of the show, but, you talk about people that play sports or call it in the zone. They don't think about what they're doing. Michael Jordan didn't think about the dunk he just did over somebody's head. He just did it. And that's how he described it. I've actually listened to an interview. A lot of these athletes are don't have a lot of thought going on in their head. I'm just saying their interviews aren't very, people ask them, how was that game? Well, there's not much thought coming out. Because when they're playing, they're not thinking. They're in the zone. When I do this show, a lot of times I'll come out after the show and go, man, I said all these things, but there's no, I'm not saying I'm not thinking while I'm doing the show, but half the time, I'm just listening and talking and it's just stuff coming out of my mouth. I'm just saying, I don't think half the time, so forgive me. But it's I get in a zone when I do this show.
Yeah, that's the flow, what's called the flow state. That's what it is. And here's just one last thing about thinking, how absolutely useless thinking is. We've talked about some very interesting subjects, and some of it was fairly high level. We got into some of these things, and I think what's interesting is that you and everyone else understood everything that we were talking about without thinking. Understanding and real communion only happens when you don't think.
Totally understand that. Like I said, I think a lot of these things resonate with people when they hear it because it's there. All that truth is there. It's always been there. They know it. It's some deep part of them knows it. And that's why these, know a person by their deeds, know a person by what fruits they bear. And I think people understand. They read your book and hear what you say, and they know there's truth to it. Well, I want to thank you, RJ, for being on the show. You're an excellent guest. I'd love to have you back on in the future. Talk more.
Yeah, that'd be great. It has been a lot of fun. I enjoyed it very much, and yeah, we can do it again. And there's so many things, Jason, we could talk.
I know.
We didn't even get into aliens.
No, I wanted to tonight too, and I knew there's a lot. So I got to have you back on. There's a lot I want to talk about you more. There's so much I want to talk, and I want to get your book, Supercharged Self-Healing, a revolutionary guide to access high-frequency states of consciousness that rejuvenate and repair. Check it out, guys. Like I said, it's on Amazon, Kindle. You said there's going to be a reprint of it, but I mean, get the Kindle. It's about the information, right?
Yeah. And there's a mobile app too. If anyone's really interested in working with this course,
is it out yet?
Yeah, it's just go to my website, ascendthefrequencies.com. There's an actual mobile app that it took 5 months to put this together. There's 3D modeling, there's whiteboard animation, there's 25 hours of video of me explaining everything. It's absolutely revolutionary.
We'll definitely check that out. I'm sure Bunny in the audience will. Thank you so much, RJ. You've been wonderful. We will definitely have you back again. But that is it for the show. Whoop, that's not the right ending music. Wow, well, not in the zone. Think about when I'm going to get you back on, because we got to get you back on, RJ. You were awesome. But that is it for the show, guys. We will be back next week with Tom Palladino, Your Body Using Scalar Light Healing. I don't know much about that one. I've heard some things, read a little bit, but Tom Palladino, he'll be on for an hour next Sunday, and then we're going to do some open lines. All right, guys, have a great night. Thanks to everybody who watched. Thanks to everybody who shares the show out. Keep telling people about Paranormal Soup, an open forum and place where we can discuss the weird, the unusual, the strange, and just what, everybody else calls weird, we think is normal. Come join that conversation every Sunday night. We're here. Thank you to everybody who donates on Patreon. $2 a month does help the bills. Thank you, Russ, for your donation on Super Chat. Don't forget, you can always donate on Super Chat for YouTube. Again, helps pay the bills for the show. All right, guys, have a great night. See you next Sunday.